What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Time is the Only Luxury. Today we have my king, Billy Mays III, aka Infinite Third, joining us, and we talked for around 3 hours on this one, and I had an absolutely heavenly time. Very grateful that he was able to join me for that long. Bill is a father. He is an incredible musician, an incredible artist, and an all-around awesome human being that has helped me become the man I am today, and I'm very grateful to have him as a friend. I hope y'all enjoy the show.
Makes sense. Audio engineer.
How are you, King?
Oh, I'm good, except this, storm out of nowhere.
Oh, that's a beautiful storm. Beautiful storm. You want to just jump into it? You want to talk for a minute first?
Sure. No,
Okay.
let's do it.
All right. Everyone, we got my king, Billy Mays III, Infinite Third. I don't even know how many good things. I have a million things to say about you. I love you so much. This is one of the most inspirational humans in my life and has been an absolute guide for me on this journey. One of my best friends for almost 20 years now, and don't know where I would be without this guardian and guiding angel in my life. We've had all the bumps in the roads. We've had all the highest highs. We've had low lows. We fought like brothers, and thankful to have you today. Thanks for making time for us here on Time is the Only Luxury today.
Yes.
How's life? How's fatherhood? How's everything going? How's music? Start wherever you want, my king. We got no agenda, just time.
Oh man. Well, actually, before we hopped on, or before the storm started, actually, I was just naturally thinking about what you just said. Everything you just said about 20 years.
It's been a long time.
I think it's like 18 years, but
2004.
Still. Yeah. Well, no. We were 2005.
2005. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
End of But I mean, I don't know that many people that I've known longer.
Same.
And have kept in touch with.
Same. Yeah. A lot of people have come and went in that same time period.
Yeah.
For sure.
But you sent me that picture of us
Yeah.
at Benihana's on your birthday. I think it was your 21st or
Yeah, it might have been my 21st birthday or 22nd. It was somewhere in there.
Probably your 22nd, yeah.
Yeah.
And just didn't feel like anything that I could remember.
Oh my God.
Like I knew that picture happened,
Uh-huh.
but I don't really have a recollection of being there. Like I don't feel like I was the same human online in my body as I am now.
Same. Absolutely same. I just can't believe the journey that place was. And, looking back, I felt like I felt so whole then. I felt like I just knew everything. I had things figured out. I knew exactly where I was going. I had so much ambition and so many dreams that I was certain of exactly how they were going to turn out. And now looking back, 20 years later, it's like, oh man, have a plan.
See, I didn't feel like a whole person back then. I was 18 when I got to Full Sail.
Uh-huh.
And looking back, I feel like I was just a child.
Sure, me too. Absolutely.
Maybe by the end of Full Sail, I had a little bit more life experience that I felt a little bit more like an adult. But and even looking at you, looking at that picture, you look kind of the same. Like you had your confidence and stuff, and you're you were kind of in your being. I look like a completely different person.
Yeah.
I had a whole body transformation since then,
Absolutely.
or multiple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we all have, but mine was noticeable in the face. And,
yeah.
But also just my demeanor, I think
you were still a kid. Not. I don't want to put that energy on you.
I was a kid. I was a kid.
You were really
I was genuinely a kid. Yeah.
I had already spent a year in college and had some out of high school experiences and kind of felt like a young adult. Had been paying my own bills and been out for a while. And you were young. I mean, how old are you now? You're 36, 35?
37.
37. Okay, when was your birthday? August
12th.
Yeah, okay. I knew it was just recently. Yeah, 37. I mean, you're only 2 years behind me, but that's a big difference when you're 18 to 21 or 19 to 22, whatever it is. Yeah.
I also didn't hit puberty till I was like halfway through high school, so maybe not like even later.
I remember when
I
we
was like,
first, it was so fun when we first met, and we were like, remember when we were doing our like Friday, Saturday night outings? We'd go to dinner and go to movies and stuff. And we'd all meet at your house before or Stacks or whatever. We're smoking weed, having drinks, whatever silly stuff we were doing. I just remember we blew so much money at the Cheesecake Factory at the movie theaters.
you were all about the Cheesecake Factory.
I still am. I still fucking love the Cheesecake Factory.
I just don't think any place needs a menu that big. It's like you can't be doing any of it well if you have that many options.
Bro, do you know? So my buddy, I have a couple of buddies that are chefs here in Columbus, and I've lost connections with them. You know Scotty Wu though. He sings on a couple songs. He just became the head chef at Hyde Park, which is like the nicest steakhouse in Columbus. There's 3 of them. They're the nicest by a lot. Not maybe not the nicest, arguable, but up there. And him and another guy worked at Cheesecake back, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now. But they were the chefs there. Literally everything is homemade from scratch daily at Cheesecake Factory except the fucking cheesecake. Everything. Like from scratch, total from scratch, all sauces,
Really?
everything. Yeah, there's nothing bagged, there's nothing microwaved. It is like the pinnacle. If you become a chef there, it's a really tough road to become a chef there. And once you become a chef there, you're like pretty much good. You can be a chef anywhere for the rest of the time.
What is Cheesecake Factory still going strong?
Yeah, I mean, still humming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
Crazy cheesecake story, weird energy I'm going to share with you right now, but here we go.
Let's go. I got time.
The last time I was at Cheesecake Factory was a couple months ago, longer than that now, pre Kane pregnant, or Kay pregnant with Kane, so pre-February. So it's might have been like New Year's Eve even, or something like that, around that time. But so one of Kendra's girlfriends and her boyfriend or fiance and their friends that we didn't really know, we all went out for a night for his birthday. We went to Top Golf and Cheesecake Factory. And we hung out with this guy. And it was the first time we had really hung out with them outside of like seeing him at a bar one other time. And we hung out, had a great time. And then like 4 days later, they found him dead in his apartment. And I still haven't heard what it was. I have to assume it was an overdose of sorts. And like, I didn't know this guy, but it was really weird cheesecake energy. I was like, I've been coming here my whole life, and now I've got like this weird energy on. The last time I went there, I need to erase it. I need to go. Yeah. I need to go again and clear up the energy.
Maybe the first post Kane dinner. You could do a cheesecake.
Hey man, I like that energy.
Circle of life.
Yeah, you're right.
A baby's first cheesecake, and then your buddy's.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Man, it is so weird. Kay's having some high blood pressure today, and we got called.
You test it every day, or what?
We're testing 3 times a day. We're doing morning, after like a light snack for lunch, and then before bed. But today it was really high. And by like really high, I mean like 140 over 95 or something. And as a very healthy yoga instructor.
I never know anything what the blood pressure numbers mean. I just know when they tell me if it's good or not.
I don't either. But she called today, was all upset. And they're like, it's fine. They're like, don't sit around, get moving. Get out there and do some stuff. And as long as you're not seeing any other side effects, you're good. But we have doctor tomorrow, 2 doctor's appointments Wednesday, and then another one Friday. So we're really in the thick of it. We got a couple weeks left, and we're in there.
Yeah, and I know you said that there might be an early arrival of things.
Yeah, arrival. What a good term. Arrival.
Well, I don't know what else to call it.
Me neither. Well, let's talk about you for a minute. I keep talking about it. This is like dominating my life, and rightfully so. Amen.
This
I know.
Is like bigger than anything we're going to talk
about. No, I mean, it's the biggest thing in my life, and definitely the biggest thing I've ever done.
Well, let's just say this: my daughter is going to be 3 next month.
Yeah, let's go into this.
It's still the dominating thing in my life, and anticipated ever not being. So
Yeah, yeah.
you're just starting the new paradigm of like everything is about
That.
this being now
Sure,
and
sure.
everything around it. So
Any advice
uh,
for any expecting fathers out there or myself while we're here?
I don't even know where to begin.
All right, begin here. Anything I need to put in my go bag? We've got a suitcase
Go
packed.
bag. I didn't even. We did ours, and we were in the hospital for like 4 days, I think,
They
because
told us
of
two for sure.
the C. And um, we were really close to the house. It
Mm-hmm.
was like 2 blocks away, and I didn't leave, but our neighbor brought me stuff at one point because I forgot to pack like a jacket or
Yep.
anything long sleeve because I'm thinking we're in the hospital. Like,
Freezing
what could happen?
cold.
And it's freezing. Yeah. So, no, honestly, my only advice, if you do end up for the longer bit, I think even for the shorter bit, they offer this, but definitely for the longer, if you're there longer.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody hipped us to this uh, beforehand, and it's so impossible to sleep in these hospitals. Like
Mm-hmm.
most dads get a couch or a chair. I got a bed because it was peak COVID time and there was no one else in our room. So I got to sleep in the bed next to Kate.
A hospital bed, like a
Yes, a hospital bed.
Okay.
It was like reclined. I was holding Cass in my hands and it was reclined up. And there's a picture of me like sitting up sleeping with the baby. But the thing is, you can ask them to take the baby to the nursery for like a couple hours
Mm-hmm.
where they'll just take care of the baby and you guys can sleep for 4 hours or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best. That was like we were about to lose it and then remembered that we could do that when we asked and they scheduled it and set it up. They put some kind of like tracker on the baby and you get it, at least our hospital did. And they took Cass away for like the first time we were away from her, which was like 4 or 5 hours, and we got to sleep. And I was like, oh, it just got us through that last bit. And if
Of exhaustion,
that,
get you a recharge before you actually become parents. Because like you're at the, that's what I keep thinking is you're at the bottom of your energy tank, and they're like, "Here's a baby," and you're like, "What the fuck? I need some rest before I take this off."
We were so tense on the ride home, and like securing the car seat, and I just remember being like, wow, they didn't give us any, like they were just like, all right, see ya. And they give you like a little piece of paper maybe. And you have to go to the doctor like the next day and like check in. But that day when you're from the hospital to the first doctor's appointment it's like the Wild West. You're just like, oh, so they're just like, they think that we can handle this. So we just have to kind of act like we can handle it. And it was a blur, honestly. And I don't have any advice. I think there's no advice for sleep that I can think of that matters. It's just going to be what it is. You don't know how the baby's going to be. You don't know who's going to be more comfortable getting up at what time and blah, blah, blah. We did a thing where I think I would get up because we were doing formula mostly and Katie would pump, but not mostly. It was half and half formula and breastfeeding, but we were relying on formula for like the nighttime, and I would get up 2 or 3 times a night and be up with her for like 45 minutes to an hour each time to feed her and get her back to sleep. And then Katie would sleep that whole time, a whole night's sleep. And then in the morning wake up, she would get up with her and I would sleep for like 3 or 4 more hours if I could. And so we're talking, that only gets us to like 9
That's what Marsh does. That's pretty much Marsh.
Well, we don't do that anymore. We have,
because Aaron works all day and Marsh works from home. So that's kind of how it works out. Same schedules, it kind of feels like.
Okay. Well, in the beginning, it actually mattered because Katie needed to sleep and I didn't mind getting up, but then I would have to kind of catch up.
Is Katie working from home or majority from home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in the other room right now.
Nice.
Cass is with her grandma and aunt, which is every Thursday now. Lifesaver. They pick her up from school in the car.
Amen.
We take her to school and then they bring her over at like dinner time, right before dinner time.
Nice.
And it's the best.
I bet it is.
It's the day they get caught up and get recentered, recharged.
You sleep in that day. You take her to school, so you have the same morning. Sorry.
Honestly, we're not sleeping in at all.
Yeah.
Right now, we're lucky if we get a 7:30 from now and then. But She's brutal right now. She's a dictator. She wakes us up. She knows the monitor can reach us, so she'll just like talk to us through it. Like, Mom,
Oh my
Mom.
gosh.
And then, but she gets up once a night at least because her blankets came off. And I have to come in and put her blankets back because she has 3 blankets. And it's cold. We keep it pretty cold at night.
Yeah.
So I get it. She just hasn't figured out how to do it. And
What
then she's
temperature do
kinda
you keep
getting-
it at night?
Oh, I don't even want to say.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you mine first.
All right, go ahead.
67.
We're 66.
Oh wow!
Oh, no,
Nobody's below
actually,
us.
we're 67. We're 67 with a 66 sometimes, but it's usually 67.
We do 66
But, yeah.
occasionally, depending on how hot it is, because we really need it cold. I sleep. I can't if it's not
Me too.
really cold. I do not sleep. I need if it's
You
cold.
got to get
I
one of
sleep
those
straight through the night.
sponsorships from that Chili Sleep blanket that goes on podcasts where they.
Jamie's
they
got it.
blanket.
Jamie's got like this
Okay.
cool mat that like icy, and then he has a weighted blanket. So the weighted blanket's pushing him down. So then he doesn't even care
I
what the
can't take
temperature
weighted
is.
blankets, so I
Me
can't
neither.
take those.
Me neither.
It makes me feel crazy.
He loves the cold bed. It's like ice water pumping through it. Cooled ice water pumping through the
Wow.
mattress topper.
Well, I'll tell you this. I went to bed 2 nights ago. I went to bed at like 10:30, like for the first time in a long time, that early.
Mm-hmm.
And Cass gave us a miracle night of didn't wake up for the covers. And Katie got up with her because she was due for a morning wake up. And she got up at 7:45, I think, which is when her sound changes to bird sounds. And I got to sleep in the extra hour and a half till 9. Katie let me sleep in.
Wow.
So I woke up and I was like confused. I was like, oh, like that's how much sleep I don't get all the time. And now I'm like, I feel more able to face sleepless nights. Like I don't mind if she gets up tomorrow or tonight or whatever, because I can handle it.
Kay was telling me earlier out of note, like just not even, I didn't even like prompt her or anything. And she was like, did you see Cass had her first dentist appointment? And I was
No,
like,
that wasn't her first. It was like her
was it?
third one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was,
But she goes
maybe it was
every
just the
6
first,
months now.
okay. Maybe it was the
Yeah.
first one that Kay's seen or whatever, but
Okay, probably. I think it's the first one that was posted about.
yeah. And she was like, I was like, did she do good? And she was like, yeah. So it looks like she like picked out a hat, had a good time. Everything went well. I was like, that's so fun.
She loves the dentist. One thing
That's crazy.
that Katie's like amazing at as a
Mhm.
mom is anytime there's a new thing, she'll find the Sesame Street episode about it,
Mm-hmm.
see if there's another cartoon kind of episode about it of something, and then they'll practice it with like stuffed animals and say, okay, here's the dentist. They're gonna open your mouth, go in here, and Cass will like practice it and act it out
Mhm.
to the point where she's been perfection every dentist trip, and even this time going, I took her in the morning. She was so excited all day. Like we didn't take her to school. She's like, I'm going to the dentist. Like just
That's amazing.
singing. Yeah,
I mean,
so she
that's
likes
really
the
a good
dentist and
training.
haircuts.
It's awesome
Yeah.
that you guys are training her to visualize without really having to talk her through it. You're just showing her this is how you practice a thing.
She knew enough when we got out of the dentist. I was like, oh, you like the dentist, huh? And she went, I like the dentist. I like getting a haircut, and I was like, yeah, and the doctor. And she's like, I like the doctor, but it's scary when I get a shot. And I was like, yeah, it can be scary. I
She's
was like,
so
damn,
smart.
like you got it figured out. Like I'm like, all right. Like I didn't even think she could have that kind of connection of like those are the same types of things.
Things, yeah.
Haircut, dentist, like things that
She
kids
got
would be
good
scared
pattern
of because it's-
recognition. Yeah, she knows
Yeah.
that they're in that box. Did you have a problem with any of that as a kid? Did you have a problem with like shots or anything?
I think so. I think everybody has a problem.
I was a
with shots.
nightmare, dog. I had to be
Yeah.
strapped down, literally.
Yeah.
I remember them bringing out the blue. It's like a padded mat, and they had to literally,
straitjacket kind of thing?
strap me to the motherfucker. And I was 4, 5, 6. I was not fucking with
I
that.
remember in kindergarten one time, up so hard that my arm stiffened.
Mhm.
Like it got stuck stiff because they shot while it was stiff. You know how you're not supposed to
Yeah.
tense up? Like,
Yeah.
And I remember I went back to school and they couldn't move my arm. I don't know if that was like a bad thing or what, but that really traumatized me moving forward for shots.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I don't think I had like, I think I ended up getting pretty not okay with those things when I went to the orthodontist
Mhm.
because that shit hurt. Like I had to do braces and stuff. I never had cavities growing up, so dentist didn't really matter
Mm-hmm.
that much. It was easy.
Same. I had a couple, but they were fine.
Yeah.
I was a little older.
Anyway, Cass's dentist is wild. They got kids movies going. It's all set up like a
TVs above them.
playground kind of. Yep.
Yep.
They let her pick a toothbrush. She picked a dinosaur toothbrush. It was dinosaur and Bluey this time. And then she picked. Then they showed her a menu, and they went right to her. They weren't going to me. They showed her a menu of toys, and I didn't get to see what the menu was. Like they let you pick a treasure when you're done, and I just saw her going, and then she just confidently picked that one, and I was like, oh, what'd she pick? And then the dentist was like, construction hat. I was like, oh, okay. And then, really? I was like, really? You want the construction hat? She's like, yeah. And then she calls it like a fireman hat, even though it's yellow.
Okay.
And
all right. Well,
I ended up wearing it because it doesn't even fit her. It's like too big. And then they give her, now they're telling us we have to floss her teeth, which is impossible.
right.
The back teeth.
Gonna get bit.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
That's wild.
It's not like I really floss. But
I do once in a while.
yeah, me too.
I go on little stints where I'll do it 3 days a week for 2 weeks, and then I won't do it again for 2 months, something like that.
Have you heard these water floss things?
No, I used a water pick, that kind of thing.
Water pick.
Yeah, I used a water pick for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. My mom got it for us as a Christmas gift, and she was swearing by it, and I was like, nah, I don't fuck with that. I just don't think I need it. Brushing my teeth has been fine. Eating good's fine. And at the end of the day, I really don't feel like people should be all that stressed about teeth. If you look at most celebrities today, and yeah, it is expensive. It is at a very expensive
I don't fuck with veneers.
and important. So you don't fuck with them?
Okay, I know people personally in my family that have them, and I think they look like
sometimes they do look cartoonish, but other times they look fine. And like I have old people in my family that are like 80s that have several fake teeth, but they're on post, veneers on post. So
I have 2 right here. I mean, I have the 2 next to my front teeth are veneers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've got it down good enough now. And yeah, 15 years ago it was different, but when you're looking at most celebrities' perfect big white teeth looking like sugar cubes, I think they look fine. And at the end of the day, it's just teeth. It's like, I know.
Well, let me tell you this, and I didn't think we were going to talk about teeth this much. But my 2 front teeth, when I was, I think, 7, I tripped and bit the curb of my porch, and my 2 front teeth, adult teeth, came out. Long teeth. They had to put them in milk. It was a Sunday. My dentist got off the golf course, did an emergency thing where they stuck them back in and put like makeshift wire braces on my teeth. Oh my gosh. And they took, and they're still in there.
Oh my gosh.
If you've seen my teeth, they're kind of like discolored, and it's not from stains. It's because they're like rotted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because he got hit in the face with a baseball. Same thing.
Recently, my dentist offered me, you could just, I see that you have these things and I know about your history. Like you could just get veneers and we shave them down. And I was like thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then I said, because there's root canals, he said that there's something that when they x-ray it, they have to check for some kind of infection thing because of the nature of the way my teeth are. And he said, the only thing is once we put veneers on, the x-ray won't go through it. So we won't know if they're rotting. And I was like, yeah, I don't mess with that. Like, I'm not going to do the visual thing with the possibility that I could be having some rotting
infection in
bacteria
your head.
In my head that I won't feel because there's no nerves in these teeth anymore. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'm just not going to do it. I don't know what my options are. Maybe to pull them out and do like a bridge or something. But that would suck too, but I'd be able to take them out.
I'm grateful for my teeth. I haven't had any of those perfect teeth.
You have
no,
perfect teeth.
I have had perfect teeth. When I was younger, I lost a lot of teeth really quickly, and I was kind of worried about that because I was like missing teeth all over my mouth. And I had these 2 front teeth were really big when they're this size at like 4th grade or some shit. They have on a little head with these big ass teeth, and I had some gaps in my teeth, but over time just came in perfect. How lucky is that? I don't think not many people have that happen. And Marsh got hit through a low pitch. He was pitching and he threw a low pitch, like almost hit the dirt. And the guy like hit it out of the dirt almost, and it went right into his mouth. Immediate, straight from the bat into his mouth.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
And blood everywhere, straight to the dentist. And he has a little, like, he views it as a problem, but I don't even notice it, and I've seen it my whole life, so it's not that big of a deal to me.
Well, I'm someone that I feel that as I get older, and I think you're kind of like the opposite a little bit, is that I really want to advocate for like the imperfection of all bodies.
Yeah.
Like not wearing makeup on TV, like things like that.
Sure.
I really believe in it because I think it's like it's an endless cycle of plastic surgery and Botox. And not that those things, I don't like hate on people who get those things. It's more just like, it's creating this world where people aren't allowed to have wrinkles or
yeah.
I love wrinkles. And I think it's like easy to say that as a man because
yeah, we're lucky.
Older men just kind of like, it's like forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
But I always told my dad that he should let the gray hairs grow in.
Mm-hmm.
I was always like, that'll be more endearing and it'll kind of like make you more human. And he was like, no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he just keep doing it jet black.
Amen.
But it's kind of ironic that he's saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but he's like fixing it every single time.
I love seeing, like, you're sharing some clips of you and him recently, and you've been posting stuff from like Pitchman and stuff, and seeing some of those old clips. And I've actually even talked about your dad with Andrew on here. And
I haven't listened to that one yet.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you haven't yet, so I can like preface it before you do, because we were talking about celebrities and meeting people, and your dad was really the first, what I would consider major celebrity that I ever met, and that was like somebody we saw on TV literally every day growing up. And then all of a sudden I'm at his house with you, and he's telling us about how to talk to like we're there preparing for a school project, and he's explaining to us how, what about nerves. And that's what we talked about was, and I said, that was one of the first like celebrities the Buddhas I killed on the path, was like, he killed himself to me, of like, he was like, this is what that energy, that nervousness is how you know that you care. And I hear him say that all the time. I hear that.
Yeah, me too.
I hear it all the time. And it was such an impactful moment for me, and really gave me the confidence of like, holy shit, this guy is the guy that talks to everyone and is what you would consider to be maybe the least nervous human being on earth when it comes to selling a product, pitching something, talking to people that you don't know. And he's sitting here saying, no, I get nervous. And you're like, holy shit, like this guy's getting nervous. Amazing.
I'm going to find out soon, because I've been doing a lot of archival stuff in preparation for this documentary. I believe that there's a recording on camera of him saying that.
No,
thing.
Really?
He's in a limo on the way to the Tonight Show for the first time. And I'm pretty sure somebody asked, I think Sully asked him, he's holding the camera, says, are you nervous? And he said, yeah, I'm nervous. But he's like, nerves remind you that you're alive.
Amen. And that's fire.
Yeah,
fire.
I want to find that. I definitely want to find that.
So, I know you just said it, but documentary, how much can you say? Where are you at with it? What's next? How far in the process? What's going on?
I'm torn on like what to even say about it, as far as like what to keep more close to the chest and what not to, because I've been talking about wanting to do it for like 10 years now.
Sure.
So this could just be another time where I'm talking about wanting to do it, but each time.
Yeah, but you've taken like concrete steps.
No, there's real. I'm only saying that because of my history of like talking about it too early, but it's actually surprising how little I'm talking about it for how far along it is right now, as far as how close we are to production, and how there's like an actual team and there's an actual, like, it's not just me anymore.
Sure.
And I'm now just executive producer, kind of okaying things. And it feels like, next year is when we're in full blown production. And things are kind of getting thrown around because of the strikes, but
how is that affecting things right now? And without
It's
derailing.
complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated because on one hand, you want to say that unscripted things are gonna they tend to thrive during strikes,
Mm-hmm.
during writer strikes specifically. But at the same time, I don't really want to be giving content to the people that everyone's striking against
Mm-hmm.
in a way. So I would love to not be in that position by the time everything comes together, because they need to strike and they need to do something to even the playing field a little bit, or else everyone will just keep getting beat down on the lower levels. But what I'm hearing from like firsthand is that even if we think that we could have an advantage because we're not using writers and stuff in the traditional sense, I guess all the major companies are looking at this time as a sort of break, and they're not funding anything, and everything's lower budget. So it's probably a good thing that it'll kind of like change our trajectory a little bit than just going straight up the normal way. But I think and I definitely know now more than ever that like the project's going to happen, and it needs to happen, and there's
Amen.
big interest in it, and I can't wait. I'm excited, and I'm feeling more lately like it's not just going to be mine in a good way, whereas I was always afraid to give up a lot of control.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I give up, the more I feel that I can kind of let it become bigger than what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I can stay focused on
life,
all the other stuff that I do.
Yeah,
like all the other projects that are probably less personal, less close to my like family tree, but more to the future and in the present of like now what I want to do and what I want to create in the world.
It's interesting to talk to you today. I actually just saw randomly this morning a video of a guy talking about us being in a recession, or the quiet, silent depression is what people are saying on the internet right now. And he posted a thing from Taco Bell for him and his wife and 2 kids. Their Taco Bell for 4 people was $56, and 3 chalupas was $15. And he's like, "How is a chalupa how are they $15 for 3 of them?" How, and I don't know.
I just got back. My role is that I only eat Taco Bell when I'm on the road for shows. I'm dead serious. This is my thing. So every drive, there's always a Taco Bell meal. It's perfect. They're everywhere. It's vegetarian friendly. And basically, and my Katie's mom for my birthday last month got me a $50 gift card to Taco Bell because she knows.
Nice, she knows.
And so I just got back from playing this festival, and I got Taco Bell 4 times with the 4 drives that I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And each time was under $5. And it's not a value menu thing. It's I get 2 items, and one's right now what I'm getting is the Fiesta veggie burrito that's like stacked with guac and all this stuff. And I get it toasted, and I get a spicy potato soft taco. And that's like 1,000 calories. It's solid. And it's great. I used to get the black bean quesarito, which was also like $3 max. So I just don't get how people are spending a lot at Taco Bell.
He went over it. I think that's what it is. I think
we don't get soda.
I agree. Especially for 4 people. If you're buying 4 sodas at $3 something a piece or $2.99 a piece or whatever it is, it's you're adding 25% to the total bill. But how many? Most families that are rolling around are probably having to get their kids soda, or they are not having to, or choosing to, and that's drinking those calories is expensive in a lot of ways. So I think you're right. I think it is a lot of decision making, but it is. I'm just tying it back to your pops. It was very interesting to see that and then have this conversation, because I don't think many people realize when your dad passed, where he was in his career. And it was really like hitting the pinnacle. Like the ship was coming, that was in, like it was, he was landing, literally coming home of everything was at full speed ahead, all cylinders cranking for.
It was basically, he's finally getting his hip fixed.
Yeah.
After 2 bad surgeries on his hip. He was going in for that surgery the next morning after he died. and he was flying back home from all the shoots, getting everything done so that things go on while he's down with his hip. But I think what you're saying is what was about to happen though was the meta.
Yes.
It was about to go beyond just infomercials and become like.
I mean, he had a TV show.
Character.
He was talking to Taco Bell. He was the
Season
top
2
of,
would have been in the works.
Yeah.
Taco Bell. He would have been.
He's on ESPN.
Conan. It would have been less about Call Now and more just like
Billy Mays.
You're the guy.
Yeah. And he wouldn't have been I think he had transcended. And I don't mean to say this in a derogatory way towards info or direct to consumer marketing, but I think he had transcended that market. He had maxed it out, and ESPN was realizing like, oh, this guy's face on ESPN works. And like this gets us eyeballs, this gets us meme content, this gets us highlight clips that are going to be used for years. And I don't want to put too many words on it.
There's no telling where else it would have went. It would have went in ways we wouldn't even have known. And I have a vision of what that multiverse looks like, and it's not good for me. It's basically that he goes on and becomes more and more famous, becomes this like figure, and still has his bad habits and all that. And I think he goes on Celebrity Apprentice, makes friends with Trump, and I think he's in the My Pillow guy position.
Sure.
Pitching for Trump, and we're in this whole world where my dad's like this weird fake Republican, and
he's like a politician by default. And
I'm having to like disown what he's saying and be like, fuck this guy.
Interesting.
I've thought about it so much, and it's just like so clear to me that this would have happened. And I think the Celebrity Apprentice thing was like a no-brainer and would have happened because I think he even was like in contact with people involved with that show at that point.
Especially the Florida connections. Everybody thinks things are so big, but I still today feel how small the world is on Twitter. You can just tweet to not Twitter, X. You can just post to Elon. You can just respond to Elon, the richest guy in the world, and you can just respond to him. The world is very small. Of course, those connections are going to happen. And like, are you considering like even telling part of that story through the documentary you're doing now, or telling any energy like this, or is it really strictly about your dad's life and covering that historically? What's the vision right now on the documentary? Is it
the creative as it is it's all centered around my dad's life story and his peak and his upbringing and everything, but it ultimately branches out or zooms out to telling the story of direct marketing, and home shows and that world, Carney stuff, but tying it into what we've always talked about, which is, how my dad and that industry has impacted what we know today as influencer marketing and TikTok and everything.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's basically going to tie into that. That's a big part of the story that we're going to tell, is why is this guy's story so important? Because it is in this pivotal point where celebrities become pitchmen and all this, and vice versa. And he's one of the only ones that is a pitchman that becomes a celebrity.
Sure.
Instead of the other way with like Shaq kind of, doing this thing. But I mean, there's plans for there to be like huge interviews in it with some of these people. Maybe Shaq's in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I personally want to meet the South Park guys.
Yeah.
And work with them and do some kind of charity work with them and just tell them how much I appreciate like the immortalizing of my dad through the episode that he was in.
What a cool thing. And when it first came out, it's so edgy, it's like right on the borderline, but it is exactly what you'd expect from South Park, and still embodies your dad's being in the South Park world pretty well.
Well, they respected him. They clearly respected him, or else they could have gone harder.
Yeah,
they could have done something different, and they had some kind of respect for him. And I think you've heard this story, and I've actually made a TikTok about it that a lot of people have seen.
What's your TikTok? Infinite Third?
Infinite Third, yeah. And I deleted TikTok over a year ago, so I haven't posted, and I don't know if I will again. I probably will, like when the documentary's coming out. But there's a lot that lives on there that tells a lot of stories, and me answering questions with videos. And the South Park one was funny because Sully had told me he had gotten the scoop in the week leading up to it, because South Park makes their episodes like 5 days
Weekly.
before the episode airs. Yeah. So somehow word got out that not only is it about my dad's going to be featured in it, but he's going to be like heavily featured in it, and it's going to be like be a big part of the episode. And Sully told me, and we were just like, "Oh shit! Like, what do you think that's going to be?" And I was very active on Twitter at the time. I didn't tell anyone. I knew this, and I didn't post about it. I didn't tell anyone I knew. I just watched it alone because I was worried. I was like, "Oh shit! They're going to like roast them." And I sat there on the couch watching it when it finally aired, and I'm just like crying at the like pure absurdity of it. I'm laughing, crying, just like it was very cathartic because I was expecting like the worst possible thing, and then two, I'm a huge South Park fan for life, so I think it was just I knew what could happen, and then of course I posted about it, and I think the next morning I was on the local radio. They called me. And they were like, "What did you think about it?" And I was like, "I loved it, and I think that my dad would love it." And then TMZ picked up that quote and was like, and so that the ending to this story, which I love, is that apparently on the DVD extras, the commentary or whatever for that season, that episode, Trey and Matt mention how they got some pushback from some of the families of the celebrities. I think especially David Carradine, because they really went hard on him unnecessarily. But they mentioned, and we did hear that Billy Mays' son was like a huge fan of it, and they like mentioned it. I was like,
"Have you watched that? Have you seen it?"
I haven't. I got to find it. I think it's on the DVD only, as far as I know.
Yeah, but rent that one from Netflix and don't return it.
Yeah, true.
So talking about what could happen, you're kind of anticipating some outcomes there. And that really brings me to something we've been talking about lately, and you've been sending me some things that could happen.
Oh,
and now so we're in the AI world, and like there's all these opportunities, and I know that recently you've pushed back a little bit. There's been some funny meme type things, and some have hit better than others, of being better produced than others. And I think we're in that time period. We're in the time period where there are very high level people that understand what's going on, making incredible content with AI. And then at the very bottom end, there's the low effort, few clicks, not great models that are delivering content, and people are putting it out because it's easy and not taking them a week to create or whatever. And a couple of those videos have been around your dad, or sharing pitches about other projects that your dad is like doing. And I just wonder what your thoughts are. Do you anticipate that becoming a thing in the future, or do you anticipate a rebirth of and I mean this, of course it's directed at your pops, but do you anticipate that for other celebrities as well? And like, do you think this is something that's going to take off? Are we going to see a resurgence of deceased celebrities that are going to be active culturally again because of their estate pushing it, or something like that? I mean, I don't even know what words to put on it. I haven't thought about it too much.
What you just laid out and asked is like the event horizon right there. Like it's the turning point, and that's what the strikes are about, and it's clearly happening. And this question is like very heavy. But as far as my dad goes, I've personally been a huge fan of AI art for like years now. Even when it was Deep Dream, where it would just make psychedelic, weird.
Yeah. You've been sending me stuff for years. Yeah,
I love the Deep Dream stuff. I love like the experimentation of it. I love how it makes you think, and how trippy it is, how sci-fi it is. I think I put out 2 years ago, I put out an album that had AI album art that a friend made for me. And I made like little GIFs of it. I've done some AI visuals for my music.
Done some for my music, Colder in the Garden. You made that artwork. It's beautiful.
And I love just playing around with it. But I definitely draw the line at this like Wild West of capitalizing off of questionable things. And when it comes to my dad, I've always been sharing people's generations of art of him doing weird stuff. I've generated stuff. There was like a lot of Christmas themed stuff last
Mhm.
Christmas where people were sending like Billy Mays as Santa. I love that. There's a voice generator that was part of
Mhm.
this big thing where there's a
That
whole
was
list
really
of
good.
celebrities you
That
can
was
get,
good. Yeah.
and I'm down with that. Like for fun and for memes, I support it 100%. And I'm like, there's no stopping it. I wouldn't want to stop this. Why would
Mhm.
we stop it?
Mhm.
But it does get weird when you're talking about people who are dead, and when you're talking about, and I do think we're talking about, it's a little bit gray area with, is it skimming other people's art? I don't know. I have a weird time getting on board with that argument because we're all skimming each other's art.
Everybody, all the
And like
time.
you can
everything.
kind of sample people's art anyway and they'll never know. So like I think it's just like a really basic thought to say, oh well, that was pulled from millions of other people's
Right.
paintings and then the machine learned it. Like I can't get on board fully with that argument against it. But I get where people are coming from with it because and we can get to that with my art later, but as far as my dad goes, I was always sharing everything people share. And then all of a sudden, recently, it feels like people have been trying to test the waters of using some of these things and then using it to like sell their products.
Sure.
Which I think gets into a little bit of either a thoughtless way where they might just be doing it mindlessly of like, oh, this is fun. Let's just do it like this. And that's no different than someone stealing someone's photo and using it on an ad. I mean, it's the same thing, except it's really in depth. Nobody's thinking that like my dad's back to life and selling a product, but there's a little bit of ickiness to it. And the questions around it, the one that comes to mind first is the Anthony Bourdain documentary that I've never seen, but apparently they used his AI voice to read some of his journal entries or something for some of the narration. And once that got out, there was a little bit of pushback of like, that's not cool. I don't think he would have been like the type to support that. Like he doesn't seem like that was his vibe. But ultimately, the majority
read
of
my diary publicly. I didn't make that decision. Fuck out of here.
Yeah. But I mean, even if they put words in his mouth, like if he's saying words that he didn't say, he would not be a fan of that. But it's kind of like, can you even enforce that he would have wanted if it's the estate okay in it or whatever? I don't know what the story is, but the majority of people probably don't even think twice about it. They're just like, yeah, that's Bourdain's voice saying words that he said.
Right.
They probably never even considered. And so there's also James Earl Jones apparently signed off for his AI voice to be used for Darth Vader forever.
Sure.
There's all that. I think there's some music stuff. The Beatles
signed
went around.
Signed a nice contract. I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's
for sure. I would do it.
I would have signed off too. Yeah, with Star Wars.
To sell his like voice. He doesn't have to do any work anymore, even for when he is alive. Like hell yeah. And then there's the Beatles, which I really support the Beatles one because people thought it was Paul and Ringo getting together and like generating a new Beatles song based on their ideas. But apparently what it is, they're taking songs that they only had live recordings of in the studio that weren't tracked out and stuff. And they're using AI to separate the pieces so they can do a better mix.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, that's preservation and stuff like that. We should definitely use AI to do that. But when you know this information, but I'll share it here that recently it's come across a lot in weird ways with my dad's AI thing. And one of them was that a giant marketing company reached out to my dad's old agent, who was also my agent, and basically asked if they could generate my dad as an AI figure for a nostalgia commercial for their Canadian broadcasting time block. And the agent was like excited. He's like, wow, like this, I think I can get you $50,000 for it. And I just told him instantly no. I just think it's a no. And my reason is just that I don't think it's clear what the rules are on it and what people will feel about it. I don't want to be the guinea pig of this kind of thing, So we told them no. I'll just
either way you are. Even though you don't want to be the guinea pig, you already, even making the decision not to do it.
Yeah.
You're still kind of leading the charge.
It was probably very disappointing because they seemed very excited. It matched their like nostalgic approach. They wanted to give people, and they were very positive. Like I didn't feel like they wanted to exploit, but I also don't know if it's possible to not exploit in this situation because for many factors, the power balance between me and them, or our estate and them. And I mean, I'll say it. It was, I'm not going to say it. I won't say who it was, but it was somebody very well known. If I said the name, everyone would know who I'm talking about. So it was exciting to even get that contact and know that there's interest from that angle.
Very exciting. Yeah.
And then recently,
and it's somebody we respect too, you know, and not don't know personally, but we respect them.
Yeah,
and,
I respect
yeah,
them.
absolutely.
So on the very other side of the spectrum, I recently, we might lose Wi-Fi in a minute.
It's okay.
Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, basically, there was a company that does like glitchy plugins for video on Instagram, and I kept getting their ad organically where they made an AI figure of my dad like over some weird trippy sci-fi imagery and basically pitched their product. And I kept getting it. People would send it to me, and I was kind of like, this is my vibe and I like this. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I can't also not address it because they are using it for an ad.
And if you don't address it, then you set the precedence of it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
So I ended up just messaging this company that only has maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers on Instagram, but they're spending a lot on this ad from what I can tell. Been running it for over a year. And I messaged him and I said, hey, you probably shouldn't just use someone's AI likeness who's dead without at least contacting the family and clearing it. And they wrote me this big thing. It was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think of that. Very humble. Just, I'm sorry. I'll take it down. I just stopped the ad. All this. And I responded with, thank you for stopping the ad, but I don't want you to take the post down. I think it's fine. I think it's fun that you did that. And I support it. Like, just leave the post up and thanks for listening. He's like, oh my God, you're so cool about this. You could have done such worse things about this or gotten my account, flagged or whatever. And I was like, no. And so now they're putting me on the beta for this thing they have and they're sending me like access to the product and I may end up using it. Like, I feel like I made a friend, honestly.
Sure.
But, so that's the other side of the spectrum is I would never stop. And this has always been my stance. Even when people are making like t-shirts, if Old Navy put out a Billy Mays t-shirt, I would get the lawyers involved and say, we got to handle this. But if some random shop is selling like some fun t-shirt that's like a parody and they're clearly not selling a ton, like I never cared.
As long as it's not offensive and hurting the brand.
And I've even had the offer to like, do you want us to take these down or have cease and desist? And I would say no, because I was just like, no, I don't think that's necessary. It's fun and it's low key. They're not like getting rich off of it.
Sure.
I
mean, but you could just be even if you just charged them 50 cents or $1 per item, if it was a $20 t-shirt, I mean, that would go a long way. And maybe it would deter some people from doing things and it might hurt some of the memeability or like the long-term virality of the persona and brand, but it could also generate a lot of money. Do you look at it that way at all? Or do you try to keep money out of it and you're really just going with heart and head on it?
Well, not with that stuff, but I'm trying to think if there's even an example. Not really. I mean, there was early on when they were still running my dad's commercials. There was a element of, well, what are the contracts and does the estate get paid out still royalties, or is it just, it's already been paid for, so they're using it. And that was kind of the weird decisions we were making in the first year. And so, yeah, there really isn't an example of that so much, like anything that would profit. Because I've done a lot with my dad, with his image, but I've never profited. If anything, I've lost tons of money just putting up investments for t-shirts or stickers. I have boxes of stickers in my closet right now of his face. And I just love giving them out. And I've spent so much more. I don't even think I've made money off of those. And you remember in 2020, we did a shirt run and donated literally 100% of the profits to the Navajo Nation COVID fund, just because I found that to be something in need that I could contribute like $1,000 to. That
did you sell those on BillyMays.org? Where did you sell them through?
I think that time, yeah. It was BillyMays.org, and yeah. So
is that the primary site still? Is that
BillyMays BillyMays.org. I have my little meme museum and
You broke up a little.
museum.
You broke up. Say it again.
Sorry, yeah. BillyMays.org is the little tribute site, and it's still got my meme museum up there and tribute art museum.
Yeah.
And it's got a whole page of people dressed like my dad, like for cosplay and Halloween. There's probably hundreds of people. It's really fun to look at.
Are people still doing that every year? Is it like still pretty popular?
Yeah. I definitely get tagged every year. The first year was by far the most.
Sure.
Like I'm thinking there may be, once the documentary comes out, there may be one more year where it gets big again, potentially. We'll see. Because it's such an easy, costume, especially for a bearded white guy, Do
you see a biopic after the documentary? I know the documentary you're kind of keeping close to heart. Do you have any visions of that manifesting? And I mean, I know you can't totally control it, but
I do, but I don't know if I care that much or know, or, we know that anyone can make one now. That's something that could happen. And there'd be some legality to figure out, but, I think that the documentary will serve as like an outline for a potential movie, and maybe by then I'll want to like co-write a screenplay that's like artistic. And I've had visions of doing one that's not like a standard biopic, but kind of making it more of a independent like art movie. But that's not going to make the people money that want to make money. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a feeling either way about it. I'm just focused on the documentary. And then also I'm focused on continuing the supplemental content around the documentary. So everything that doesn't get used in the documentary, I want to share on TikTok and YouTube. And I have all these VHSs beside me right now with a VHS player that I've been digitizing.
Are you still in the process of doing it?
I paused for now because we're in the process of putting together our little reel. So I sent all that off, and it's happening. So there's tons more archival out there that I haven't even found yet, but I'm at a stopping point where I'm not looking right now and I'm not digitizing. But yeah, I definitely have things I want to do with my dad's likeness, especially for charity. You know about the Laundry Project.
I loved it. I really thought it was a genius, ideation of the whole thing you thought up and the way you did it and doing it local and the beer.
Well, that wasn't me. That was my friend.
It wasn't you, but you helped. Yeah. I mean, you,
I think I can take their already in place amazing foundation and grow it with, the synergy of Long Live Your Laundry.
Yeah.
Billy Mays. And even if it's me and OxyClean or whoever will get involved, Sully.
Why don't you talk about tell us about that little event you did and stuff and like what all.
Well, the Laundry Project is my friend's, Jason's, longtime nonprofit, and it's such a legit nonprofit in that nobody's getting rich off of it, but they're doing these things like relentlessly. And they go to a community or an underserved community. Usually they find a laundromat and they basically rent it out. And they spend the whole day there and do a free laundry day. Everyone can bring all their laundry, no limit. And they have volunteers there. I volunteered for this one. And you have an apron full of quarters, and you have a soap sponsor, and you're helping everybody keep it flowing so that it's always going. Every single machine is going at all times. And I was blown away by how mundane it was, because you just think, oh, laundry. I do my laundry right here, But the people that were bringing bags and bags of laundry, bring their bed sheets, and and you realize like this is helping them. They might be saving $50 that day or whatever just by doing all this stuff. And I was just like, damn! Like, not only is it a cool idea, but it's also perfect for Billy Mays. Like, the legacy of Billy Mays to just be like doing people's laundry for free. And so I dream of it being a bigger thing, like. Maybe I can just take it and get more going in different cities, because they do go to different cities, but it's mainly Florida and New York. I think there's maybe one other city that they're in a lot, but I want to bring one to Atlanta where I'm at. And I want to just find a way to grow their thing. Maybe even what if there's a free laundromat in various towns, that's just always free.
Sure.
And it's funded by
just a Billy Mays themed coin laundry op that
true.
Has it once every 30 days it's free or something.
You're right.
The
I hadn't
third
really thought
Wednesday of the
about it.
month, at Free Laundry Day. Get in line, baby. Take a
That's a good
card.
point.
Take a
Yeah.
ticket to the
Yeah.
carnival.
Yeah,
That's pretty
that's
fun.
a great idea, and I wish
Yeah.
we would have come up with that in private. No, just kidding.
I could edit this out
No,
if you.
no, it's good. No, it's good. But yeah, so the laundry project, we've done a couple things, but the main thing we did was in Florida. There's a brewery called Dunedin Brewery that my friend runs. It's Florida's first craft brewery. It's the first
Wow.
one that like existed.
What year
It's
did it
the
open?
oldest
Do you
one.
know?
I want to say like in the 90s, like
Mm-hmm.
if not 2001 or something, like before people were really doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a beer called the Billy Mays IPA, and they did like a limited run of it, and you could go and just get it at any time, but you knew that a portion of every beer that you buy was going as a donation to the Laundry Project.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that for the whole run. It was like an orange flavored. They put like the orange peel into
Was it good?
something was different. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I don't drink beer anymore, but as far as beer goes, I like an orange IPA if I'm going to have an IPA.
Sure.
It was great. Yeah, people loved it. People would send me photos of them drinking it. We did was part of an event at one point where it was on tap and I played music. It was really cool. And I would say it was a success.
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to derail the conversation too much, but I want to bring up another AI thing that I think will lead to a lot. Are you hip to? I love that you went from he's drinking water. I got him on FaceTime. He ended one small thing of juice or drink that he was drinking with ice, and then once it got empty, he picked up a way bigger one. Just on it up.
I always have a mason jar of water.
Amen. Me too. I keep
lemon.
I keep mine too right here.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes just raw.
So did you hear the Heart on Your Sleeve Drake The Weeknd AI song?
Oh yeah.
Did you see that it was nominated? They put it in the Grammys. So
it's not nominated, right? Or it's up for consideration.
They're putting it.
They submitted it for consideration.
It's not Drake and Weeknd's choice, but the label, whoever it is, and the reason it's eligible is because it's written and was recorded by a person. So that's how you get those. And I don't think many people understand how those things are made. I think a lot of people hear that and think like, oh, it's just somebody like make a Drake song and it's like spitting the most fire shit. And it's like, no, that is an incredibly talented producer writing a song, either getting the beat from somebody or making the beat themselves, recording it in the same stylistic phrasing that Weeknd and Drake would do, and then taking those acapella tracks, also doing all of the AI work that's hard as fuck on the other side, which is creating a monster model with tons of compute to get the exact clean, crisp audio that you would expect on a Drake The Weeknd song, and then translating it in probably very small sections, and then editing perfectly to make it sound like a comprehensive production that you can't really determine whether it was an individual or AI. And it's interesting to me that that's occurring, and I don't want to put too many words on it. What do you have thoughts on that, or what do you think about that? Do you think that's the future? Do you think we've already? And I'll preface it with this question: if we're seeing it now and it's going to be nominated for a Grammy, how long has it existed? And does Drake have hit songs out there in the world that he had nothing to do with that have been going on? Because I think this AI thing's been going on. You know, we're doing it. You and I are personally using AI. Our friends are using AI in big ways.
I'm not one to think that, a lot of the Drake hits are.
I don't say a lot. Any? Do you think there's
or just like I think it's more. I think it's easier to assume that what we know, which is a Drake song is like a 50-person production and he's pulling from everywhere. He might be pulling from other people's. They might have got someone in to rap in his style and then he just raps it again, that kind of thing. So if you think about that, that's like old school AI. That's the intelligence of the collective coming together and creating the entity known as Drake. So we know that. We've known that forever. Beyonce, everyone is a whole machine.
Did you see the thing that just came out of Still Dre, Dr. Dre? And I've known this for years, but to see it documented online a little bit, Still Dre with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg from the Chronic 2001. He sent the beat. They worked on it forever, writing to it, and they couldn't figure it out. Sent it to Jay Z, and Jay Z sent it back to them in 1 hour, rapping Dr. Dre's verses and Snoop's verses the way they should rap them, and they just re-recorded it, and then it's like one of their biggest songs ever. You know, it's like that is the OGAI. I like how you put that, but I mean that is what's been happening. And
well, you nailed it though, because what a lot of people don't understand is that there is so much work and skill that it takes no matter what tool you're using,
yes.
even if it's a generative
yes.
tool. And it takes taste and it takes all these different things. There isn't anything that is press a button. I mean, I would say that it's borderline that when you're using Midjourney and you're like, make a beautiful landscape in Paris. And like, you kind of did just type the words and it made a thing and it's beautiful and perfect. And you can't argue with that. Like it's low effort. But I also kind of believe that we're meant to be efficient with our effort. So a lot of the plugins we use as musicians, I don't think we'd call them AI, but I would call them very high-tech processors that are doing things that we used to have to take hours and hours and hours to do.
Sure.
Reverbs and, all this different stuff. And
whole rooms built for reverbs.
Yeah. And things that can sense what needs done on a track and all that, or what compression will work or EQ situation. And so it's obvious to me that it's just a big step, but it's not a leap to go to AI. And there's generations going on, like with Photoshop doing content aware fills and stuff like that. I think that people don't understand that the human touch is still what is going to make any of it viable.
Sure.
But I do think it's doing what people say, and it's putting people out of work. And
that's kind of what I want to bring up here. I wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to connect this dot to the strike that's going on. And, I don't know how much information. I think you're probably a little more informed on it than me. So if you wouldn't mind, what is going on with the strike? What are they striking about? And then what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it really is necessary? Is this the focal point of this strike? And I've seen some different takes, so I want to hear what your thoughts are.
From what I understand, the way I've seen it unfold is that the writers' strike started because of streaming being different than traditional media with like TV shows and stuff with ratings and TV deals. So royalties changed drastically from you would get paid out for Seinfeld airing forever on Fox or affiliates and everywhere where they call it syndication. The royalties were always like what you live off of forever. And what happened is when streaming started, it's all kind of proprietary and there's not a deal in place for how many streams, or they tried to kind of like music streaming. They tried to like equalize and say, okay, well, this many streams equals this many, whatever. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's still
and it's so easy for them to, and it's so easy for them to just decide how to not pay these royalties anymore. And so even to the point where they can take things down to avoid paying royalties. And it's a lot of, and we know the real problem is just there's a couple of people at the top that are making exponentially more than everyone else. And if they would just give up maybe a quarter of that, everyone could live better. And so that's a whole problem, but I'm not going to get into that. But then, so what I saw happen was the writers went on strike for that reason. And then there was some kind of chatter of like, oh, well, they're just going to start using AI to generate movies, scripts. And writers would say, well, don't support AI doing that because, we have to kind of stand strong and be like, we are the laborers here and we need to be valued. And then I think it was kind of like, oh, maybe what if there was an actors strike at the same time? That would be crazy. And for the same reasons, because royalties are kind of the same. But for a while, I think the actors were kind of responding of like, oh, we're watching things closely. And, Fran Drescher, the nanny, is the leader of the
I didn't know
SAG.
That. No.
She's this like the head of SAG. She's like this chosen speaker for SAG, which is hilarious. And she was kind of commenting like where it didn't seem like they were going to go on strike. And then I remember all of a sudden it did. And it seemed like the tipping point was that this fear over AI, because they were making extras and background actors sign a thing where they would scan them that day. and then you could be used forever. Your likeness could be a background AI actor, and you'd be getting paid like $200 or something, and that's it. And people were just, I would say yes to it if I was just like getting work and I needed to like
you need to make
stay on the
$200
good
that
side
day.
of these people.
Yeah.
And you need to like network right and not be hard to work with, and
Sure.
they pressure people into these contracts. And then it became real, like, oh, this is like what they're doing to everybody is Brad Pitt may do a movie and they just scam him, and then in the future he may have signed something that he doesn't need to be hired for the next one. They don't have to pay him as much and all this stuff. So it seemed like AI was definitely the actor's tipping point. And then now they're kind of in solidarity, and everyone's like, SAG and WGA, don't cross the picket line. They're very, I don't know if you're seeing that a couple talk shows are coming back.
No, I haven't.
Drew Barrymore's show and Bill Maher's show are coming back without writers, but obviously you have to write for them. And everyone's just like dragging them because it's like, of course they're coming back. Like they don't give a shit. They just want to, you know, stay relevant. And
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll be able to withstand like the bad press they get from it. But apparently you get blacklisted if you cross the picket line, and that means you'll never be able to join SAG or the WGA. So if you ever intend on becoming an actor, you can't really cross the picket line right now.
That's what they said to the PGA golfers that left too, and they ended up getting paid extra hundreds of millions and still got back. And they still got to go back.
Okay. Well,
and PGA welcomed them back, said, no, sorry guys, we desperately need your talents.
I think the top golfers might be like kind of like a Tom Cruise kind of situation. Like, yeah, Tom Cruise can do whatever the fuck he wants and he'll always come back. But I think it's more these like, if you step in and decide to write for some sitcom because you think it's a good opportunity now that nobody's getting the jobs and you just take it, I think that will be remembered if you're on the credits there.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, okay, well, we've denied your, you're not going to have the support of your union now. And so now you're kind of fucked long term. And that's assuming that the unions get what they want, which I would think it'd be easy for them to just come to a compromise. I don't know. All that to say, I think the AI is like the tipping point of like, that was what instilled the fear of like, oh, we need to really do something now to keep the humans valuable. And my comment on that is that I think about this all the time. I'm someone that's going to go maximal. I'm going to hopefully create an infinite third AI version of myself that can do my music for me or do a version of my music for me. I want to have a hologram that does my music. I want my music to be generated and did forever. Where there's going to be a bot that learns from all my music, and I want that for sure. But my response to it, and I do think we're very close to being able to say like, hey, Siri, make me an infinite third song. Like it'll just generate an infinite, oh shit, Siri. And I think we're very close to that. And then my response to that, like as an artist, is I'm choosing to just double, triple down on the human part of what makes me special. And so I'm going back to like being a living, breathing human in front of people with my issues and my anxieties. And
like this. I mean, just being free and open.
Like this. We could generate this, but then it wouldn't have that living pulse and those fears and those emotions. It would have like versions of those, distorted versions of those. And so I'm actually developing, I'm not going to talk about this one because it's so fresh and I haven't told you about it, but I think it's my next big project for next year that's for music. And it's basically a response to this in saying, in response to music streaming and how it's devalued music, I'm basically doing a project that is, without saying too much, it makes my music a personal experience that is like eye to eye and is imperfect. And it's something that once I die, it won't be able to happen.
Yeah.
So get it while you can, while my heart's still
I love
beating.
that.
Come and do it.
It's fun. I love that. You know, I really appreciate you talking on the AI stuff and like giving your feedback there. I know, a lot of people that work in the industry and are part of unions and things all the way down from writers to showrunners and things. So I really respect your opinion there. And I don't know, have you followed, any people talking about it? Have you seen Andrew Schultz? He wrote like comedian Andrew Schultz wrote like a Twitter thread and he's talked about it a little bit. Have you seen
Was
any of
it
that?
was it kind of like saying how it's already over and like
Well, he's saying Netflix is done. He says Netflix is a wrap. He says, like, how can Netflix compete? And he was just saying this on Joe the other day. He's telling Joe, he's like, Netflix is dead. And Joe's like, no, they're not. What do you mean? Like, no, they're fucking not. And he's like, they're done. And he's like, why would you say that? And he's like, because they paid like Aaron Sorkin or whatever $100 million for a couple episodes, and they get that like once a year. They get like 10 hours of content once a year, once every 18 months. And he's like, but Joe Rogan puts out 3 hours of content every day for free. Nobody gives a shit about those 10 hours over time compared to what this is. And there's two things I wanted to bring up. There's that of this long form content is eating a lot of hours. And that's very interesting to me on like the play side of a Justin Bieber song is 3 minutes long. And I've written about this and talked about this for years. I know you and I have talked about it a lot. A Bieber song is 3 minutes long. It gets 1 billion plays or whatever, but how much total time is that spent listening to it and really feeling a connection to the creator versus a 3-hour podcast every day that people are listening to and from work literally every single day. If you've listened to 1,000 Joe Rogan podcasts, and I did this math in 2017, there was like 1,600 Joe Rogans. Now they're over 2,000, like 2,100 or something. If you've listened to 1,000 JREs, you've spent far more time with Joe and Jamie than you're ever going to spend with your grandparents, than with your parents, with like, I know, way more time. And to think about that of like how much time these pieces of content are really eating, how many life force hours they're energizing or eating is the word I like to use. I find that very interesting. And then the other side of the creative part of the AI jump is how many works, old works, are coming into public domain over the next, like Winnie the Pooh is now a fucking horror movie or whatever. And how many of those characters and those domains that have been, very valuable IP up until this point are now going to be released into the world, and what that means for Hollywood, what that means for writers, what that means for creatives, both in music and in media, like visual media, how easily translatable or to translate them from a book or a short writing into a screenplay or something like that. That's a lot less work from maybe in some instances, not all, of course, from A to Z of a finished project than it is from we have blank paper with an idea and we have to get this compelling story here. And yes, there are only 11 or 12 storylines or whatever, whatever conspiracy you want to come up with, if these are all the same stories, but these are classic hits that we are talking about. And now we're entering an era where every year, I mean, when we get to 2035, the 70s are starting to,
But why do some things go into the public domain and some don't?
It's 70 years after the creator's death. So
but it also has to do with the estates though, right? And how they use it. Because
they could have sold it. Yeah.
Older than that are not in public domain.
Sure. I don't know all the details.
Because I've heard that like Disney, some of the reasons that they're doing these live action remakes is to kind of refresh the countdown or to like reclaim the copyright is what I thought. But I don't know how Winnie the Pooh would have made it in. Well, because it wasn't theirs originally. It was A.A. Milne, right? And
good knowledge there. Look at that brain.
Well, I'll tell you why I know that because I have these books sitting next to me, and it's 6 Winnie the Pooh books that are like this big. They used to give away at BP. I don't know if you remember this.
No, I don't.
I'm in the commercial.
No
it was
way.
my first commercial. I have the tape right here.
You can grab one of the books. I want to see one of the books. Show me one of the books if you don't mind.
It's like a box set, and it's this. It's like
wow,
these little books.
And those are from like the early 90s, late 80s? What is that?
It was BP propaganda. This was like 93.
Okay.
And I was a child actor I was on TV long before my dad was.
Hey, now, so who's the Billy Mays Senior now? Huh?
So the commercial that I'm in, do you know the guy? Do you know MASH, the show MASH?
Yeah. Dad loves MASH. You know,
the guy named Radar,
okay.
Gary Berghoff.
Yeah,
it was his. He was like the spokesperson for BP doing these, and it was all about like reading to kids is important. That's why BP is offering these Winnie the Pooh books. Like, I think they're just free. I don't know, but I was sitting on his lap in this commercial.
Wow.
And I have a picture with him and stuff, but this doesn't have to do with anything except AA Milne.
Well, yeah. I know. This one's a good tangent. It's a great tangent.
I think it's this one is signed. Look, yo, Billy, love you, Gary Berghoff, and he drew
a picture. So fire! That's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. And that's the only one that's not numbered, so that might be a rare one.
That's fire.
So the point of that was,
thanks for sharing. Fun.
So Winnie the Pooh, Disney must have just done an adaptation of it, which I guess a lot of their stuff was adaptations.
Yeah.
But are you telling me that like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs isn't on there? They're doing a movie. They're doing a live action movie like next year of that. So
they're promoting it right now.
Does that mean that they wouldn't be doing it if it was about to go into the public domain? They wouldn't do it. And then there's the whole thing. Are you familiar with Norse mythology with Thor and Loki?
Yeah,
because Disney owns Marvel, and Marvel does Thor and Loki. They've started collecting, like they've started enforcing copyrights on Thor and Loki.
Who?
Which is like
Disney has?
Disney. Like they'll shut down Etsy stores that are selling like Thor and Loki, not Marvel related like stuff. And I don't know if they're
successfully
still doing it, but from what I heard, that there were these creators just getting shut down and being like, what the fuck? Like you can't own Norse mythology, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like literally Thursday is Thor's Day, and you're gonna say that you can't like put something.
Yeah, you own it now. You own Thursday now.
Yeah.
We
have to rename it. So I don't know. I don't know the details of like. I don't really understand. I always thought I knew the public domain was 70 years after the death, but I remember being like confused when certain things weren't in the public domain, and I thought it had to do with how the estate uses the material. I wonder where James Bond is at. Not quite that. It wouldn't be that far yet, but I know that the estate is big controller of the James Bond copyright.
I think about this, and I think people are worried about losing their jobs and stuff, but I've been the person for the last 6 months advocating or, yelling that humans are it. And you can think that it's easier or less work or more efficient to generate something with AI. But the bottom line is Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe standing on a green screen with a director, a camera guy, and a lighting crew is not easy to replicate. And what's even harder to replicate is a spell cast from a director or a writer that's off screen that's like, hey, try it like this. And Radcliffe gets it immediately, knows immediately, resonates with that energy immediately, changes their face just for a second. And the director's like, that's it. You did it. That's it. I got it. Next. And instead of typing in a whole fucking paragraph to get the right energy and like, you're basically writing, you're just going through like there's something powerful about being able to do that. And like, there's people on X that are doing it in their backyard, doing special effects, like standing on a pile of couch cushions and with a green screen that they got on Amazon for $30.
You meant on ecstasy. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess. Okay. Yeah. On Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can do effects at home, special effects at home, but these special effects are not easy. And they're so not easy that you can tell a drastic budget difference from series effects to major motion picture effects. And if you can't see the difference in those, then you're not that well versed in production value. And if you think a series that's on Fox TV or whatever is equivalent to the movies, you're not really picking apart that those effects at a high level, but people that do know how much work it takes just for, just the effects track. Forget about an animated movie where every sound is fake. Forget about 99% of dialogue is thrown out the fucking window and doesn't even matter that it's captured on set. It's all ADR anyway. And most people don't even know what ADR is or that it exists. And, Kendra can, after being with me for 20 years, Kendra can be like, oh, that was a shitty piece of ADR. Did you hear it? And like, sometimes Kendra will catch it and I missed it, but it's because I pointed it out for so long. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I do hear it now. And I don't think many people get that. It's so important.
Even with the knowledge I have, I never get used to the idea that Foley is happening on everything all the time. And that the footsteps you're hearing are not footsteps. Like it doesn't register with me still.
Yeah,
I have
same.
to like think about it. And that's amazing. And
they're so
and then
good.
You realize why, because if you see just raw audio, if you hear raw audio from a set, it's nothing. It doesn't even, that's not how the life,
that's not how life sounds. Yeah.
Well, and I've personally never been someone that's like bothered by not top tier visual effects. Like if visual effects are a little bit like unfinished or sketchy, it doesn't really take me out of it if I'm into the story or if I'm into the thing happening. But I know a lot of people are just obsessed with, I couldn't watch it because it looked like they didn't have the budget to do that spaceship or something. And for me, I'm just like, I'll watch claymation or, whatever they want to do. I don't care. Just as long as it's like the energy is there.
Yeah. The energy has to be right. I agree. I'll put up with things as long as the one thing I can't take is bad acting. I cannot take one line delivered wrong. I might shut the whole thing off.
Bad acting is funny though, because people
who's to say it's bad acting, basically?
Yeah, like maybe that's just good acting in that universe or that person. But everyone knows what you're talking about when you say bad acting, and like it usually sticks out. But one that comes to mind for me is I usually don't focus on bad acting, but that show Only Murders in the Building?
Yeah, Kendra's watching it, and I think it's so bad. She thinks it's great.
I love Martin Short. I love Steve Martin.
I think Martin Short is the worst actor ever in that show. It's terrible. Kendra loves it. Kendra's like, are you fucking kidding? It's Martin Short.
But Selena Gomez, right?
Yeah.
She is literally unwatchable in it.
Yeah.
Katie and I watch it and we're like, oh, this show's so good, but she just sucks everything out of it, every scene she's in. And I don't want to be mean, but I'm just like, they shouldn't have put her next to at least Steve Martin, who's like top tier on-screen presence, And it's like, it just becomes so obvious that they're working with her and they're trying to like elevate her, but she's actually just not taking the cues or something.
She's just not capable. It's not in her. It shouldn't have been her. I always wonder about
good,
this.
Though. It's a corny show.
Kendra loves it.
It's a fun
Kendra
show.
watches it all the time. I think it's on season 2 now.
I think season 3 is about to start with Paul Rudd. He's in it, and Meryl Streep.
Okay, Paul Rudd's in it. It's out right now. Paul Rudd. So the one she's watching right now has Paul Rudd, and Kay will put up with what I think is subpar acting. She's okay with it a little bit, but she's also like okay with murder reenactments and things like that on shows, and I hate it. I'm like, come on, I just don't want to see a reenactment. It's just you guessing at what happened. Yeah. So I just really don't want to undervalue the human effort here. And it's funny you bring up Selena Gomez because, I view most hip hop artists as excellent top tier actors. I mean, they're basically like wrestling. Travis Scott is a wrestling figure he's a wrestler.
Well, I mean,
as a rapper.
We know everything's hip hop, everything's pro wrestling.
Yes.
Everything's and I come from wrestling more than the hip hop side, but I totally get what you're saying. And more, I think the world is appreciating the art that is pro wrestling and why it covers all these bases and why it fits into politics and why it can be compared to all these things, because there's nothing that brings together this many mediums.
Correct.
So there's never going to be AI wrestling. It's just not going to happen.
Well, wrestling is the epitome of what life is. If you look at it in like the big, we've already had Shakespeare. Shakespeare
love
brought
hearing you say this.
Shakespeare brought
I'm so glad to hear you say
everything to life on stage in front of you. You know, there wasn't recording. So it was these actors have to do these things in real time for the audience today, right now. And tomorrow it's not going to be the same. Logan Paul off the top fucking rope doing flips and the
With the
craziest
selfie?
shit we've
Did you see
seen
that?
is insanity, especially
Yeah.
when you're doing it in front of 50, 100,000 motherfuckers at the LA stadium or whatever it is, you know.
And
You look like you want
feels
to say
it was
something.
just
Go
a
ahead.
long arc. It feels like it was just a long arc from Shakespeare to WWE, where there was a period where people thought, "Oh, that's just fake." Because I bet in Shakespeare they weren't like, "Oh, this is real. I'm going to go watch Macbeth, get into some hijinks." No, they were, but they were buying into it. They were like, these people are like becoming this scene." And it was just brilliant. They didn't get to see that much stuff like that. And now I think what I love about wrestling is that we've gone past the point of like, oh, it's fake, right? To, yeah, we fucking know it's fake, and we're going to actually be fake with it.
Sure.
Because it's a big act. And if the crowd can buy into it and say, I'm going to cheer for the good guys, I'm going to boo the bad guys, I'm just going to look for the moments where I can forget that this is fake. Just like a movie. You want to forget that you don't want to think about it being a movie. You just want to think about it.
Be an extra for the next 2 hours. Yeah.
And so I was listening to a podcast today. It's this guy, Sam Roberts, who's like top tier wrestling fan journalist who just breaks down wrestling all the time and lifelong fan. And he was talking about it today. He was like, I went to a wrestling show, and as you guys know, it's 2023. We're cheering the good guys. We're booing the bad guys because for a while it was so cool to be like a smart wrestling fan and like cheer the bad guys and like throw off the whole vibe of the whole thing. Like, you're too cool for the room. Like, oh, I know more. I know about the backstage antics. But now it's like, no, we're going there. We're part of the show. We're gonna like play along with them. We're gonna like, have the emotional moments with them. And like, why else would you want to go except to immerse?
Sure.
In anything.
Sure.
Why would you want to be part of it?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And hip hop too. What if
Yes.
if you went to a hip hop show and you were like, this rapper's not nailing it. He could have hit that line better. No, you want to go and be like, this is the guy we're all worshiping right now.
Right.
And we're all like, yeah.
And on top of that, how much the production matters and how much the artistry of being an actor in that moment matters. I hate to say this because I love them so much, but I'm going to say it. I'm sorry, Bone Thugs and Harmony, but the worst concert I've ever seen was a Bone Thugs and Harmony concert. And it was at a time where they were probably at like coming down from their peak. And so like they were, bone thugs that we grew up with, and they're just over that ledge. So they're probably still living the life of partying and have all of life consuming them as well, while they're not solely focused on being Bone. Was
it just low energy or what was
it? It was lip synced, and all of the, like you could just tell that there was no nuance in the vocals. It was just exactly the vocal you had always heard. And then they would stop. And I think that's fine if you're Drake with nonstop hits for 2 hours. People will put up with it because it's a hit fucking song. But when you're there and you've got your 4 or 5 hit songs in a 2-hour show or an hour show or whatever it is, and then there's 30 or 40 minutes of songs the fans are going to love that were, songs on the album that really deep cuts, if you will. When you're listening to those in there and you really want to hear them rap like them, and to be Bone, I mean, it's fast as you could go, and in a lot of ways, and the craziest wordplay and sounding raps, maybe some of them ever. That is difficult to do every single night. And for me to expect that as a fan to go and like get their highest level performance on this Tuesday night when they just perform Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, they're on Tuesday, that is me asking quite a bit, but it was not a good show. And, I've been to a couple other shows that weren't. Tim McGraw, I thought, he lip synced at Paul Brown Stadium in 2013 when Kay and I were there. We were touching the stage. And like, obviously he's not fucking singing. I've done a lot of shows myself. I can tell that you're not singing, bud. And that was tough.
It's more about the spectacle at that level than it is the performance.
On a stage with 60,000 people in a football stadium, absolutely. But if you're at a 20,000 person
I know
arena, it's a little different. You know, it comes off a little
For Bone
different.
Thugs at the time, it was probably just like a money thing where they get their guarantee and they probably weren't passionate about
Yes.
sharing their art at that time. I bet if they would have brought different energy, you might have overlooked it and said,
Probably wouldn't even have noticed if the energy was different. I mean, there's 6 of them on stage. How are you not tricking me or whatever? You know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the crowd is on stage.
At least like take pictures with the fans or I don't know, something. You got to raise it in some other way too if you're going to be like subpar performance.
I mean, and I've seen it with comedy too. My dad loves Ron White, and we went to see Ron White in Vegas, and of course, you know, this is me being a young man taking my dad to a show that was pretty outside of our normal show capacity. You know, we spent a lot of money on big tickets, and we're in Vegas, and we're expecting the show of our lives, and he gives us the show he's been putting on for 2 or 3 years. And my dad already saw it, and we get to meet him afterwards. We did the meet and greet, and I don't know if you know this, but his son's name is Marshall, and my brother's name is Marshall. My dad is just like Ron White. I mean, you know,
he is like Ron White. Yeah.
So his son's name is Marshall. My brother's name is Marshall, and Marshall's birthday is the same day as mine. Wow. And he went to Full Sail.
Really?
Marshall did. Yeah, he's like his audio guy. He does a lot of his recordings and stuff, and worked with him.
Was it around when we went, or was it a completely different time frame? Do you know?
What'd you say?
When Marshall went to,
I think he went a little bit after us.
Okay.
Okay. And I talked to him when we were in Vegas. This was like 2013-ish, 2012, somewhere in there.
Okay.
But we went and saw that, and my dad was so pissed. Like, made it basically like ruined his fandom of Ron White because we bought $300 tickets and backstage passes, and they gave us a show we had already seen. My dad's like, I could have just stayed home and watched the fucking DVD. What are you doing? Like, I didn't come here to hear your wife sing. And like, that's what he was like, bringing out his wife to sing songs in between and stuff. And my dad's like, I don't give a fuck about this bitch. I came to see Ron White drink, smoke stogies, and cuss.
Yeah.
And there's something about the spectacle is so powerful, but there's something about the human performance that makes or breaks everything. And I don't know if that can be faked. And that's where I would say, like, AI stuff, to me, nothing has hit. And I'm the guy right now that will tell everybody, you show me something from AI that's fucking fire, and I will change my tune, but it does not fucking exist.
I mean, there's fire art. I mean,
so still pictures. There's still pictures that
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I mean,
there's no denying that you can make beautiful, brilliant things,
pictures,
especially like large scale things that it would take years to make.
Yes,
a human, you know, and that's fine. That's just, you know.
But I mean more like you know, it's what we're talking about when we talk about movies. I don't think people really understand that. I don't think people think about this as far as production goes. It's literally called a movie because it's still images moving. It is, and people, you know, they kind of take that for granted. And that's where I would say AI is incapable of creating images that portray movement. It is not able to trick us into thinking that things are moving. And all the clips, people are like, I put this together. It took me 8 days of work, and here's my short documentary. And it's like a picture of space with the spaceship moving super slow with some robot voice talking over it. And it's like, this is not it. This is not it.
AI is able to, it's almost like, it's not good at like doing natural movement, but it's good at doing like full on flowing movement. It just doesn't understand contrast or what makes something
alive
look important or alive. Yeah. But I like that AI feel of like things just blending into each other infinitely, and it's just like evolving. I love that, whatever that is. It's beautiful. It's something that we didn't really have, you know, before AI. At least I don't think.
I agree. I posted about this, and I think we've talked about this before, so sorry if I'm repeating it, but it's fun to talk about. But I posted to Twitter that AI doesn't understand, it can't comprehend that there's a subject in the picture that's alive and important, like a person walking. it brings everything to life. It brings the car to life,
Yeah.
the tree to life, the street to life, and it sees everything as one living organism, which is
Well, maybe
super.
that's how it really
It
is. Maybe
the-
it's just
that's-
it knows what
It knows what it is, and we're unable to convey a message of everything is not one to it. So as it shows a person walking down the street, it literally like the tree becomes the person. And it's like, well, that's not how it works. But actually, no, bitch, it is how it works. That is exactly what it does. But it's not really what we're looking for in a piece of media. We're looking for the subject to remain the subject consistently in whichever environment that they are posted in or active in that moment. And AI has not been able to discern which items and think how much work that would take instead of just taking a camera out and recording still shots very quickly that portray movement, and the car stays where the car was. The tree blows in the wind, and it blows naturally in the wind. It doesn't become the bird. It doesn't become the sun. It doesn't turn into rain and start melting because it's raining. It is its own separate subject, and you wouldn't be able to write in, all right, the tree in the back left corner, the tree is just the tree, treated as only the tree. Like just writing all this in for an AI prompt is more work than fucking doing
You might as well
the
just
work.
film a tree.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I come to this conclusion over and over again that the work that humans are doing is the work that's necessary, and we are already doing it in the most efficient capacity. This is not helping in any way. It's its own genre. It's its own thing. It is not making things easier. It is actually making things harder by increasing the tool set and giving you a bigger toolbox to choose from.
Well, more possibilities
Yeah.
is definitely harder. But is there a more important piece of media at this point than The Matrix?
I don't think so.
Like,
no,
like the way I think
entire
of it
thing.
is like
yeah.
everything you're saying is that like what the Matrix figured out was that AI is going to figure out that it doesn't know these things, and it's just going to use us to continue to like differentiate all that stuff for them. So where we become the human batteries to make things viable, but it can do everything forever. And it's almost like once there's no trees, you know, you'll need the human memory to come up with trees. So they'll have to.
Gosh.
You know, well, that brings me to what I think I was going to say like 45 minutes ago, and that's I think AI. I think the idea of AI and where we're at with it, and then jobs and all that, is not so much like about AI. Like we don't have to figure out what's going to happen with AI. I think we just have to know that it's going to be this unstoppable force. And it's kind of the same way I feel about the subject of climate change. It's that we can all disagree on like what's happening and if it's happening or what's causing it. But what I think the real like pressing matter of these things is how we responding to it and keeping the humans as important and protecting the humans. So whether or not the crazy weather is from humans or whatever you want to say, the crazy weather that's happening is happening, and the response, the climate change response is that the climate is changing, and are we prepared to evacuate everyone from Miami and bring them somewhere safe? And that's how I feel about AI is like, no matter what your stance is or whatever, are we actually responding to it in a way that we can write it in that the movie industry has to play by these rules, at least to a degree, that we're going to value the humans because that is what's valuable. We're not going to have some illusion that the humans are not valuable because of AI. You know, so I think it's like, we just need to come up with what you're saying, which is the true value is the human touch. But at the same time, it's like self-checkout machines. We're going to have self-checkout machines everywhere. And maybe one human now oversees 8 registers. So what is the equivalent of that with art and music and movies? It might be that there's a director and there's like half the amount of grips because lighting is done in post. You know, like it could be stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that's more what we should be talking about is how do we not what we should be talking about, what the world should be talking about. It's like it's already done. We got to figure out what we're going to do about it.
You know, I want to talk about your music and before I do that, I want to talk about, I thought about this on X yesterday. It's really
You gotta
important.
stop saying that. I'm not. I thought you were on drugs. Yes, I will not. I will hold out as long as I can and call it Twitter for as long
No, I
as
mean,
anyone will be able to
I've
understand
erased
what I'm
it.
saying.
I've
I don't
erased.
respect Elon enough to do
I've
that.
erased it. It's X and posting for me now, and I
Oh,
very
man.
rarely slip and say Twitter or tweet. So
Okay. Keep going.
reappropriating content is as rampant as it gets. Did you see what came out about Barstool this week? Do you know what Barstool is?
Yeah, but what happened? I didn't see.
So a report came out that Barstool has 50 burner accounts on X. And for the last 10 years or so, the way they've gotten around copyright and distribution laws and questionable posts is they just upload everything to a burner account that they want to post, and then they embed the media into their post. That way, the account that posted it originally gets deleted if there's any problem. And they're doing this with all sports highlights. So NBA, MLB, NFL, which you're not allowed to distribute their content. It's genius. It's, we started the clip channels. I know you know this, but like we started the big, when everybody watches clips now, it came from Jamie and I starting doing clips from podcasts in 2013, 14, 15, up to 17, and we dominated. I mean, we cleaned up as far as views go, billions of views from clips, from stolen content we did not own, and YouTube channels that we have had hundreds and hundreds of millions of views on that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers that we didn't create any of the content other than cut it up. And it's really interesting that X is now monetizing impressions, not the content itself. So they're actually valuing the DJ that is reappropriating and curating the content, which undervalues the creator. So the creator can do all the work, upload the movie, and then somebody just bites it, uploads it to a burner account, posts the whole movie to their account. Their account's not even any danger of being deleted or struck down for suspension or whatever it is. They're under nothing. Not only that, they're only monetizing reach. So they only care about reach, not the content at all. And say you upload a song and you're like, hey, this is my new song. I embed it and say, hey, this is Infinite Third's new song. You don't get anything from that because you're not generating any ad views. I'm the one that's generating all the impressions. So I get the impression count, which then allows my account to get into the monetization schedule. So now I have 5 million impressions. Now I'm monetized. The creator of that content is completely left out of that equation. Totally. And there's nothing you can do about it by uploading it to the platform, any platform at this point, whether TikTok is the most rampant one.
I mean,
I don't know.
What is your take on that? I feel that X is like trying things, but I just think it's like off. I think the whole thing's off. And like the whole payouts going on, the monetization, I don't even understand it, honestly. Like I just think it's like someone who's trying to be too smart is looking at it.
That's what
and overthinking the whole thing.
Yes.
And maybe there's reasons that I don't understand, but TikTok, when anyone's song gets used on a TikTok as one, like pulled from the audio, you only get one play when the video's made. But if it gets 5 million views, you don't get anything.
Sure.
The musician doesn't.
Yep.
Which I think is kind of fucked up, but it's the same principle of what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's almost like there should be at least like maybe every 100,000. I don't know.
Well, so that's what TikTok is right now. So what YouTube was from 2013 to 2018, where there was pretty much Wild West, upload anybody's content, you're not getting taken down. That's what TikTok is today. TikTok today is, if anybody's listening and you want to make money on TikTok, steal all the content you want. I just saw a clip today that's an AI generated clip, an AI powered clip generator. You upload your content, you tell it how you want it to cut it. So if you want it to be vertical or horizontal, and it will cut the clips, analyze the clips. It will make 100. The guy that posted it said make 100 TikTok clips in less than an hour. It will not only make the clips and edit them and export them for you, it adds all closed captions. It also titles it. It creates a cover image, and then it rates it on its virality to tell you which ones are most likely to have viral application in the world. So then you're posting the most popular ones according to it.
This is not a game I want to play.
Me neither.
It's just
Me
not.
neither.
It's not a game, and I feel like you have to if you want to, make your way in the world as a musician or whatever. And that's why I'm kind of focusing more on out in the world what I can do, because I as much as I've tried to put out content, I've never followed the rules, and it's always shown in that I don't get the full engagement that I could. But I don't want to sacrifice that part of my thinking, my thinking power to that like shitty algorithmic thinking.
So let's get into that. This is a good transition. What's going on with your music? I know you're live streaming regularly. You're on Twitch pretty often, or you were. I know you recently spun that back up.
I just took a break to play some shows and a festival, and I'm back now. I'm about to start the October.
What was the festival?
Schedule. It's a small festival that I play every year for the last 10 years, and it's in West Virginia. It's called Culture Fest, and it's a beautiful, very small gathering, but top tier tech quality. The stages, the sound, the lights, the visuals, like everything is just top tier, but it's probably total like 150 people, 200. Like it's not a lot.
Really?
But I love it. But it's
multiple stages, one stage?
One big stage, one smaller stage, and then one chapel stage that's late night. That's my specialty, is where I play there in the late nights. And I also play on one of the big stages. I play multiple sets. Anyway, the point is it's like a retreat for me. It's the best festival because it's not overwhelming at all. It's relaxing. It's in the mountains, and they bring in just artists that they like from all over the world, just different genres. And I get to meet all kinds of cool. I met a woman who lives in the Middle East who studies the darbuka hand drum, and she plays with all her fingers. It's like the newest style of like you use every single finger on this like hand drum. And it was just her drumming and telling stories about her travels. And she had like another musician with her. And it was just like, wow, I would never see this. And I got to like talk with her and stuff. Anyway, that's why I like the festival. But Twitch, something I still love for the reasons we're talking about, is that even though I have a small community there, I have a community, and it just feels right to be playing for them in real time, because it's something that won't be able to happen when I'm dead. And I could always just upload a video of me playing, but that's not the same thing.
I agree.
And so I'm big on streaming, and I think that's definitely something I'll always do for the rest of my life, and it'll hopefully only get easier. And
I love your live streams. I think they're awesome. I know I've told you for years I wish you would talk at some points, but I understand why you wouldn't. And
I talk more now. I've been doing more. I've done some Pitchman rewatches. I've done some game streams.
I saw that. How did that go? What's that like? What's the feedback?
We're halfway through the Pitchman season 1 watch, and it's been great. They're like my top watch streams. I mean, obviously, just because there's more appeal, I think, more widespread appeal. But
are you like narrating? Really, are you like pausing it, telling things?
I'm in the bottom corner, and I'm just reacting and telling stories about my experience on these parts. You see me a lot in it. We haven't even got to the episode that's about me that I'm in a lot. We've done some things where people in the chat, my friends, will look up the people on social media, like the inventors and stuff, and see if they're still doing their thing, or look up the products and see how they're doing. And that's been fun. No, I like the interaction part. There's something about my music, the way it is. It's so anti-language that it gets me out of the language part of my brain, because that is the language for that moment.
You are. Yeah,
I get
it's
into
a different language.
Zone. Yeah. And then whenever it comes time, I feel very awkward when I start talking. I feel like this isn't what I want to express myself as, even though I would love it to be more. And there are times people will catch me when I'll get a big raid and I'll get real interactive, and I'll be talking like while I'm playing. I have a new headset now, so I think I'll be able to be playing and talking more.
Do you get a headset with a mic?
What you mean.
Like a different...
it's a separate mic.
Nice.
headphone thing, and I'm working with a whole new setup as far as it's all routed differently now, and the sound is 10 times better, and still always developing the visuals. But the community is awesome because a lot of the stuff that happens on my stream is from the community. They've made me AI stuff and things that I can put in. You've seen some of the stuff, but some audio drops and samples and things that just come from the community. That's always been how I do things. It's just kind of like
I love
react to
your
people's
emotes. Your emotes are fun.
Yeah, the
really
emotes
fun.
are good.
Have you put anything out new lately? Are you working on anything new? I know you just mentioned your new project.
I'm actually working on a live album from streams in 2021 and 2022. Like, I'm taking the best of the best improvised songs, and I'm kind of mastering them and widening them and doing AI type things with the audio that make them more viable as a real mix. And I'm kind of like shortening them in seamless ways. So, when I'm looping, sometimes it takes a while for it to get to the part it's going to. I can kind of shorten a lot of that stuff in post, or cut out.
Are you recreating, or are you recording?
No. I have a stereo track, and I'm cutting it up, and I'm making what was a 25-minute highlight from the stream. I end up making an 18-minute, 15-minute thing that's like feels like a song, and it's mastered, and the sound's bigger. And I'm calling it. You'll like this. I'm calling the live album. It's gonna be 3 hours of live tracks that I've curated from streams. I'm calling it Continuous Demonstrations.
Nice.
And the reason for that is that there's a photo of my dad in one of his early home show booths where it's the Washmatic. He's standing there like in front of the sign, and it says Washmatic, continuous demonstrations all day. Because that's what he does, is he just demonstrates it all day. So my buddy Javi made me some sick artwork and graphic design for the cover. I think it's going to be out by November. And it's just going to be a casual drop. I'm not going to do a huge rollout. Where will you
put it everywhere?
It'll be everywhere, yeah. And
are you still using Bandcamp as your primary outlet?
Yeah.
Bandcamp.infinitethird or infinitethird.bandcamp?
It's infinitethird.bandcamp.com. I like Bandcamp still because I have full control, and it has even the stuff that I don't put on Spotify. It has, and then if you look at my Spotify, there's, I don't know, 12 albums. If you look at my Bandcamp, there's maybe 18 albums, but there's even an added layer of that because I have private archives on Bandcamp where you can pay. I have it set to $9.99 a year, like a small fee where you can pay to get like the really obscure stuff that I've released and taken down.
Oh, cool.
Other live recordings and stuff. So that's why I like it, is it's kind of like
a $10 sub to have access to your whole career, as opposed to what I
truly
choose.
The whole, like everything I've ever
That's really cool.
Out.
That's a good idea, because I've taken down quite a bit of stuff too.
Yeah, and I always wanted to have more life, but there's some stuff that just doesn't hold up. But this is where I kind of let that stuff live, where it's like imperfect sketch type material that I did release at one point, but I don't want it to be representative anymore. We've both done the same thing with our discographies over time.
I mean,
do you have is Crash Landing up on the streaming?
Yep.
It is
everywhere.
Right?
Yeah. The only thing I've taken down is like all of them except like Space Jams. I reworked Space because I did Space Jams and Hip Hop Kid together, and I really didn't like all of everything that I put out, so I kind of combined them into the ideal Space Jams release and put them all out under Space Jams. And
I call it retcons.
Yeah.
I retcon. I retcon my whole discography all the time, and I combine things and I rework the mixes. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question that everybody was probably wanting to know. Have you considered pitching ever? What's your energy on continuing or picking up? Do you have any interest at all? Would it have to be perfect? Would you ever even try it?
You know my whole thing, but I'll answer it now, which is always different. It fluctuates all the time, like what my stance is. So on one hand, like the story of it is, when my dad died, there was sort of a fun little idea of like, hey, are you going to try to step into his shoes and all this stuff? And I was very young. I was 21, 22, I guess, by the time that was happening. And I was like, no, I'm an artist. Like
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just
so
want to make
different now.
music.
You're such a different person now, though.
And so now, so at that point, I would say, no, I'm an artist. I would never do that. And then there came a point where I embraced my dad's legacy more of, as far as the tributes and all that. And I slowly realized that when I would go play a show, I was doing what my dad did for 20 years of his life, which was go to a city and perform
Continuous
and then like
demonstration.
sell that merch. Yeah, do continuous demonstrations.
Yeah.
And I realized I was doing that. I would do a show and I'd have my little merch set up and I'd be like, hey, here's my presentation. And so I had to kind of pitch in that way. And I was like, oh fuck, it's happening. I did become a pitch fan. I always was
True,
one. And
true.
like,
Amen.
so
Fun.
but then it was like, what's the arc? If my dad didn't become a TV pitch fan until he was about 40, I'm 37. I'm like, damn, this still could kind of go where I just kind of embrace that and I become a pitch fan. I'm like, what's my version of that?
Mm-hmm.
And, we've talked about if the product was right, I would try it and see if I have it in me and see if there's my version of it where I'm the millennial pitch man. I've told you this vision, but I want to share it with everybody, is that I think there's room for a Taco Bell ad campaign where it's epic kind of cinematic thing about me training to step in and finish his work that he didn't get to finish, which was becoming Taco Bell's pitch fan. And it's me like eating Crunch Wraps, climbing a mountain, like training. and by the end of it, so basically it's a Super Bowl commercial where
it's Rocky for the pitch.
It's Rocky. Yeah. And I'm looking in the closet like it's a blue shirt. I'm just like, no, it's not time. And then at the end of it, it cuts to like me in the dressing room getting suited up, and it's an 8 Mile kind of moment where the lights, I'm walking out onto the set and the lights are bright. Yeah. And maybe even Lose Yourself is playing. And then the commercial stops there and it says, go to TacoBell.com to see the actual thing. And then it's me in an infomercial doing Taco Bell infomercial, with low production. And like,
would you do Billy Mays or Billy Mays the Third? How would you do? I'm Billy Mays or Billy Mays the Third?
I would drop the third if I was doing.
I'm
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays. Yeah, yes, you are. That's awesome. I love it, bro. This fires me up, dog. This is so exciting.
It has to happen in some form, even if it's OxyClean or something. Just some form of that. I just want to I want to act out that that catharsis of. Even if and I want it to be tongue in cheek. I don't want it to be like a serious thing where it just represents that part of me, the absurd part of me that like does question if I should become a pitch fan.
Yeah, but make that reality. The questioning of it, of like, let's see, and bring that energy to life.
You heard me. I genuinely love Taco Bell.
I know. I know. And this is not. Real. And he's been saying this for years too. This is. I mean, we have Twitter history of proof of this, and I mean, I think you've been telling me this since like 2009 that Taco Bell's like your go-to all the time.
Especially when they dropped like the veggie options, when it was like, we're focusing on being a vegetarian.
Right? Yeah, I remember you were hype on it. You took me. Yeah. We went together one time. Like you were like, yeah, because I went through my veggie stage too, and you were like, come on, we're going to Taco Bell. And it was like black beans or whatever.
It's all the same combination of this, or different combination of the same ingredients.
It's amazing.
What form are they going to wrap it in? Or
It is amazing. I'm so happy to have you on here. It really feels. It feels perfect. It feels like we should have been doing this forever. And
we do it. We do, like you've said, it is just our conversations. We should just record them. And I think the only difference is you looking at the camera saying what he's talking about is, talking to the audience. So
we'll get cameras sometime, but at this point, I meant
metaphorically looking at the camera, like breaking the fourth wall. Okay.
But like at this point,
tell me about your video stance, because I want to know.
It's really, time is the only luxury, is really the focus. And to get all the men in my life out of their homes that are dads and employees and entrepreneurs and have, dedicated lives to things that are far bigger than this podcast. I don't want to put that pressure on myself, nor do I want to put it on them. I want people to really feel comfortable coming, because all of my relationships are so intimate and so authentic. I don't have any relationships that are pretty much strictly business. If I can't get along with you some level personally, we are not hanging out. That's just all there is to it. And I really want that to translate into this. So putting it on camera would add, let's say it's 3 cameras. Now, I want you to feel comfortable talking about whatever you want to talk about to me personally, and I don't want you to feel like you're coming on a show where you're being exploited by one of your best friends. I want you to feel like you're coming on a show and you are in the circle of trust, the nest, you know, we're in the nest. And I want everybody to feel good. I don't want anybody to feel pressured like they're going on. Like Rogan's not edited, but they will edit things out. And there's been, you know, hey, I said this thing about my wife's sister's friend that everybody in the world's going to hear, and I really need that taken out of there. And,
or a project I can't talk about yet.
And I don't want those things, and that's where we are in life is a lot of people I talk to are working on things that are important, or people working even for the government or doing things for the Navy or whoever it is that I'm talking to that day that maybe should not be shared, but they share with me in a personal, intimate conversation. And I want the energy of all these conversations to be that. That's what I think the real value is. That's what I'm attracted to. And that's, you know, it's really fun talking with you, opening this up about dad life. I was telling Evan last night, I'm so grateful that he shares very intimate personal details about being a dad with me talking on here, because nobody does that. Everybody's going out. Nobody's truly authentic anymore. Everybody's afraid to be themselves. And I've been giving some of my friends a hard time just in like group chats and stuff. And I tell everybody, I'm not going to peer pressure them to come on to talk to me here, but I am peer pressuring them in their lives of, you don't have to come talk to me here, but you definitely can't be a 40-year-old fucking man that's in my life and been crushing it where all my friends are and be afraid to talk on a podcast. If you're afraid of that, then like, who the fuck are you? What life have you lived? And what are you doing on earth? If you're unwilling to go talk about your life and be the person that you are, it's one thing if you're like, oh, I don't want to share my personal story yet. Cool. But are you a real person on earth that's going out and sharing your story with people? Or are you projecting a story onto people of something that you want to be that you're truly not? And I really want to get people over the fact of like, we've met so many celebrities now that I held to such a high standard. And I talk about like killing the Buddha or whatever. Like when you like meeting Kanye was so powerful. Meeting your dad was so powerful. Meeting Killhofer through Kanye was so powerful. And realizing that Kanye is a group of people. And if you think Kanye can do it on his own, well then where are the Kanye hits for the last several years? You know, maybe he's not focused on hit songs right now. You can say that and make excuses, but the men that got together in the same room and made Kanye's hit songs were always pretty much the same group of men. You know, it's like a group of 10 guys that did the things, and there's 3 or 4 or 5 of those that really hammered it and made the music that we all resonate with as Kanye West's music. And I've had a lot of those buildups where I put people on pedestals and then I meet them and I'm like, man, if I just would have known this, I would have had so much more confidence in myself as a young man, and it could have changed my trajectory. It could have changed how I approached life. And that's what I want to happen here. I want people to hear from authentic people, and I don't want anybody to be fearful of being themselves, of sharing their story. And I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are really scared to tell the world who they are because they'd rather project some other energy because they think that's going to extract the next thing that they want. And I'm just so over that personally that I can't feed that energy. I can't really be a part of that fake show anymore of, yes, it's wrestling, but Logan Paul's on the fucking top rope doing the thing, bitch. You know what I mean? Like Barry Bonds is hitting
wrestling. Friendship is not wrestling. It's actually, you can only, that's the only thing that's not wrestling is like real life. You know,
and that's, I feel like Rogan was the pinnacle podcast forever, but it went from Joe hanging out with his buddies, having deep personal conversations, to now every person that comes on is a pitch. Well,
now even when his friends are on, it seems like it's still just people that are out of touch with each other and with the world. And I don't know. It just doesn't.
It's all billionaires and
It's
100
not
millionaires and
relatable. Yeah.
people worth $10 million.
Joe's like
And
the
yeah,
least relatable person in the world right now.
I think
And
the
most
most
out of
people,
touch.
yeah, I think a lot of people making top tier content that everybody looks at are incredibly unrelatable, and they don't know, they don't know it. They don't know how much toothpaste costs. They don't know that $75,000 a year salary will literally make you homeless. You know, it will render you.
Let's talk about what you were saying about men in your life, like not being open. And I think that's completely normal part of society, is that men weren't taught to be open for decades and decades.
Agreed.
And so, have you ever been a part of like a men's circle?
I think I am now. I mean,
well, no, I mean like a formal men's circle, like a group of men that meet up and sit in a circle and literally share their like. I've been a part of them, and it's powerful because whether people are bringing their real self or not, it's obvious if they are. And you have men like breaking down, crying, like, I've just been holding in all this stress, and we need that kind of thing in whatever form it comes. You have to be able to let down the burden that you have in your heart, which we all do, because you can't go through life without it. And I'm only now more and more getting to know what I need for that, and how the anxiety that I feel and that I struggle with is simply energy that doesn't know how to leave.
Sure.
And as a man in society, you're not really told how, and you're not really like supported in figuring out how in a safe way. And that's why there's like Jordan Petersons and these weirdos, and Andrew Tate or whatever. That's because they're giving like this idea that maybe you don't, like with Andrew Tate, it's like, oh, you don't even have to, you can just be the pro wrestler. And that's actually being a man. And it's like, oh geez, that's a whole other problem.
Right.
And then Jordan Peterson, I feel like, starts with a little bit of a basic message of clean your room or whatever, but he's fucking lost his mind.
He's come back now. He's come back. I don't know if you've seen him.
I don't think so.
No,
I have, but I haven't seen one thing. I feel like he's like has dementia or something. I don't know.
Well,
maybe I haven't seen the same things, but
I mean, he climbed the pinnacle. He went from resonating with me, unlike most men have ever resonated with me. I had such a period of loving Jordan Peterson. My brother actually loves Jordan Peterson right now, but he's loving him through his old works. Like my brother's recommending the 12 rules to everybody. He's like, you got to listen to an audiobook. You got to read it. It's epic. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. But for someone who's not exposed to the most basic ideas of like, Eastern religions or whatever, it does come across as like, wow, this guy's really.
Speaking of which, have you seen this yin yang electron thing?
No.
Bro, are you on a computer right now? Do you have a phone and a computer or anything?
Yeah, I'm a computer.
Google yin yang physics electron and look at the picture.
Yin yang physics electron. Quantum physics?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, physics electron. Let me see. Quantum yin yang shows two photons being entangled. Okay. Wow, is that real?
Bro, yeah, they're saying this is real. They're saying
2D interference. Okay.
So Evan and I talked about this.
It makes sense to me.
That's what I said. Of course, this is what I said.
Is representing the polarity of nature, everything. Like, so of course we'd figure out something helpful with it, or that it has roots way beyond what anyone's known, like with their own eyes. Of course.
And so, I feel like I've really gained a lot of confidence in the last 6 years because I've opened up the door, and mainly because of X connections and Bitcoin, that people started challenging me to take phone calls and saying like, hey, well, are you going to ever get to know any of these online friends that you've been talking to for years, and challenging me. And I started saying, well, fuck it then. Hey, I'll jump on the phone. Who cares? Like, I'll tell you who I am. I got nothing to hide, and that changed my life. And it changed my life because the men that I was connecting with, you might not know who an account is on X, or, I didn't even know that some of them were men. I was interacting with entities on an account, and like Jimmy Riz, for example, I met him. We went and met at Toy on Hollywood Boulevard. Sunset, and never seen him before. Didn't even know what I was looking for. and told Kendra, like, yeah, I'm going to eat dinner with this account from Twitter. And she's like, who is it? And I'm like, I really don't fucking know. I don't have any clue who I'm going to meet.
Yeah.
It's like a blind date. But I go meet this guy, and we are good friends and love him to death. And I wouldn't have had that connection if I wouldn't have started taking these risks. And a few of those men being fairly transparent, you know, or maybe I don't know how transparent they're being. But I suspect it's pretty fully transparent, more transparent than a lot of men have been with me about their finances, about things with their personal life and their families, about how much they're spending on things, you know, bills, mortgages, child care, insurances. And my whole life coming up was taught like not to talk about these things. And it's like, how in the fuck am I supposed to get any education or know what's going on if no men are even going to talk to me that are my age? And then the older generations are even more hardcore. We don't fucking talk about money. We don't talk about that shit. We don't share any information like that. They were so about putting on the show in any situation that they're like, no, you just don't talk about that. And it was devastating to me through my 20s.
Yeah.
Not knowing that other
We're
people
all fucked up because of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
And now
I don't know anything about finances still, just because there was just not something that they ever said like you should know about, like in a real way that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I really, since, you know, 2018 was really the start of me turning my life around financially. And it started with, I've done it before in the past, which is I've had 2 periods in my life where my finances were glorious and everything in my life humming and running like an engine. And that was 2010 to 13. And then not again until 2018. And it took from 2018 to 2020 to really get my shit together. And that was, you know, paying off student debt, settling student debt. It was tracking every dollar in and out of my life. I have a spreadsheet on Excel. I literally track every fucking penny in and out now, and I have since 2018. I know exactly how much money I'm making. I know exactly what I'm spending on everything. And it took that, and that took, you know, me being honest with myself first to then be able to be honest with other people. And that's not, and I'm not in a men's circle where we're all sitting around together, but thank God for group chats with transparency.
But yeah, you're creating your own. I mean,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. And also, I think it's all about what you're deciding what the experience is of any of your relationships. So I know there are times where you're like, oh, that person's not giving me it back. And you have your own lines that you draw of like, that's not okay for me. And ultimately though, I think if you're being transparent, you're either going to inspire someone else to be transparent too, or make them feel comfortable to be transparent, or it's going to become apparent that they're not transparent. Yes. And then it's going to not work.
Yes.
The friendship.
Yes.
I have a couple Twitter friends that like started out as just fun little acquaintances on Twitter. And now we text and have phone calls sometimes, and that only works if it's like a real, someone's like, hey, this is who I am on Twitter or whatever. And if you feel that, that's, you know it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the real thing, is that you know it. And that's, it's interesting to me that I have so many friends in my life that have lived pretty special and lives that have tons of stories and, you know, met tons of people and have tons of things they could talk about or be, you know, big time it, you know, and tell all these stories. But it's interesting that a lot of times they don't want to do it or they don't want to talk about it. And that, to me, there's 2 types of people. There's people that are behind the scenes people that's what they do. And they're like, no, I have a network of people and I don't share those stories. And then there's people that have those stories, but you've never seen any evidence that those stories are real, and they could just be telling you whatever they want to tell you. And how many scammers are out there just making up stories about things that are going on, and how often does that work? I would say it probably works pretty often in a lot of people's lives. They could just say like, hey, I know this person, or I'm connected to this person, and it might work for a day or two. And I remember, you know, when I was younger, I tell a story of, I tried to meet Dom, you've heard me talk about Dom Petrosi. He's like the godfather of music festivals as we know them today. And I knew I had reached the pinnacle in Columbus and I needed to meet Dom. And I was very inauthentic for a year period trying to reach Dom in a setting that was an authentic setting. I was trying to put myself through authentic, inauthentic means into a position to meet him and be myself and become, befriend him for outcomes that I wanted. Did I make it happen then? No. It took several years later and true authenticity, talking with a good friend of mine and just telling him like, yeah, I wish I could get on this thing. And he was like, oh, I'm good friends with the guy that runs that thing. And I was like, no way. And they're like, yeah, we'll go out for a drink tomorrow. And it's like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. And it's like, it hindered my progress. And I acted I would say it's the most inauthentically I've ever acted in my life. And not in a bad way. It's not like I was lying or cheating or stealing from anyone. It was just putting myself in situations and hanging out with people or befriending people that I really truly wasn't resonating with. I was just acting like I was and standing around that environment.
Well, that you've said this more than me, is that when you want something and you're just like desperate to get it, you like claw at it and you just can't seem to get it.
Yeah.
And then, and that goes for like connections and stuff too. And then all of a sudden you become your authentic self while you still want the thing. You're just like, whatever. This happened. I had at this festival I was at last weekend, something that another festival that's in North Carolina that I've been trying to get connected with for probably since 2013, 10 years. I've always wanted to, and I kind of just let it go. All of a sudden, 3 people at the festival are on the board of that festival. Like, oh, we'd love to have you. You'll be a great fit. And like, of course. And I was like, I hadn't even thought about it in like 2 years.
Sure.
And so all of a sudden, I'm probably play it next year.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, God.
So simple.
Yeah. And it's really just about that. Like that's, I think the biggest lesson that I've come to is everything in its time, and really trusting God and knowing that I'm not missing anything, nor can I force anything to happen. And that goes for wanting to meet Kanye. I literally moved to LA to make that. Like, I literally shut down my whole life in Ohio and moved to LA.
I'll never forget getting the call at like, I guess it was like 2 a.m. where I was. Sure. And you went to the Bieber show.
Yeah.
Because you heard Kanye was there. You had your thumb drive.
Yep.
And you've caught him out the side door or something, right? Getting into the rolls or getting out, or what was it?
He was just coming out of the back of the House of Blues, and it was the night before the Grammys, so everybody's in town all weekend, and we're at the Comedy Store all the time because Jamie's in the comedy world, and that's where we're hanging out. Mm-hmm. So we went to a real shit party, and our boy Jeezy, Hollywood production guy at the time, and so were some of his friends. So we were bouncing around to some parties that were, everybody there is hoping that some celebrity's there or some things that's me projecting, but not some people are there just hanging out with their friends, having a good time. Mm-hmm. But it feels like everybody's out this night to try to meet somebody, or because they have some agenda, or they
always
working.
Are.
yeah. So, I was like out trying to meet people, and up until this point, I had met I met Drake, I met Nicki Minaj, I had met several other like big producers that I won't name them all, but like a lot of people in hip hop, a lot of people in rock music and pop music. And I kept, trying to get my foot in the door of like, hey, notice me. And we just decided to leave this party. They were out of beer, and Jamie was like, hey, let's go to the Comedy Store and hang out for a little bit. And then after that, we can bang to another party. So we all jumped in Ubers and we're heading to the Comedy Store, and we're going up, I think it was Cahuenga or the next road over. I forget that road right there. Not Cahuenga. It's a block east of Cahuenga. And going up towards the Comedy Store, and Jamie looks at his phone. He's like, oh, the Bieber's playing at the House of Blues right now. And then he gets on Twitter, searches Bieber concert, pulls up. He's like, oh, Kanye's there. And we're right by it. And I was like, let me out. Stop the car. And he was like, And the guy's like, what? And I was like, he'll pay. He's got it. And I was like, all right, see you, Gert. Dapped him up, closed the door. He's like, see ya. He's laughing at me, you know? And I go to, and I'm dressed real nice. So I go to the back door. Nobody questions me. You just got to act like you know where you're going. People just stop looking lost all the fucking time and people won't question you so much. So I just walk up to the back door. The back door's wide open. I could have just walked in. Security guards are there. Other security, like personal security, like monster dudes, big ass dudes are standing around. Nobody cares. As long as you're not looking like a weirdo, nobody gives a shit. And I'm standing there and I'm like, man, there's definitely everybody's coming out. And I just realized it was going to happen. I realized some people were coming out of these doors. And then here comes Nicki Minaj, who I'd just seen a couple of days prior. And she comes out with like a boyfriend of hers at the time, nobody I knew. She gets in a Rolls Royce. And before she does, I'm hollering at her. I'm telling her like, oh, yo, let me rap for you right here. And she's like, sweetie, she's like, sweetie.
I didn't know this part.
She's like, I gotta go. She's like, I gotta go. She's like, I'm going to another party. She's like, you got any music? And I only had my one USB drive. And I was like, nah, I can't give it. And they get in the car.
What if the trajectory, one of the other universes, you handed that one to her,
right?
And she just like signed you and gave you full freedom to do whatever you want.
Of course. So she leaves. She gets in the car and pulls away. And I'm like, all right, there's got to be more people. And then I walk over and I'm leaned up against the wall, and the door's like a foot away from me. And then here comes some people. And then I notice like, oh, here comes security guards. So here comes some big security guards. And then I look over and now there's a lot of people back here. Like people are knowing, people have the same idea as me. They're just doing it after the show or whatever it is. And they're trying to get close. There's TMZ cats. There's cats with cameras. There's girls around dressed real nice. And here comes a couple of security guards. And then bam, there's Kanye. And then right behind Kanye was Justin Bieber. And I just started saying hi to Kanye, and I don't know why, but I knew, like I've known a lot of things in my life, I knew he would respond to me. I knew me saying, yay, yay, hey, yay, yay. And then like he was hearing me, and I knew he was hearing me. I could tell he's reacting a little bit, and I was like, I'll rap for you right now. And I knew that. I was like, as soon as I say that, and that was my last, like, that was the last line I had of like, get his attention of like, I'll rap for you right now. And then he turned around.
Did Bieber kind of say, let him rap or something?
Yeah,
like, wasn't there something?
Yeah, Bieber's like, spit bars. He's like, spit some bars, spit bars.
Yeah.
And, and
I urge anyone listening to this who hasn't seen the video to just search TMZ, Cameron Gray, Kanye West. Like, it's epic.
It is epic. It's weird how many people will meet me now and be like, I saw your video. I saw this thing and like, it's awesome. It's great. So that night I rapped for Kanye. And then the interaction was a little longer than TMZ put out, but like I told him, I was like, "Yo, I only got a little bit of money in my bank account. I'm really trying to make some shit happen. Like I'm broke and I'm out here really grinding, sleeping on an air mattress. Like I'm really out here. Like I made all this music. I've known this was gonna happen for years. I'm telling him, I'm like, I made this fucking happen. I know that it was my first real monster manifestation that happened in my life and came to fruition. And then from there, the next day woke up and record labels calling. They wanted me, fucking TV show people calling me, fucking reality shows, modeling agencies. And then like the biggest things that came from it were like Def Jam and then a manager named Franny Graham. Shout out Franny. I love you, dog. Thank you for the energy you gave me. I needed it and I appreciate you. He was the first manager, and he fucked with Post Malone and Louis Bell, who makes a lot of Post Malone's, produces a lot of his music now, and produced several big songs for Bieber. He called me down to the studio, and I'd already met him once, played music for him and shit. But that next day, he hit me up and was like, "Yo, come down here. I want to talk to you, and just make sure everything is good." And just as like a homie, like I didn't even know this guy, and I went down to his studio, Electric Feel. Was on Sunset, in the Sunset Towers, right there. Went in and met Louis, and Louis is one of my favorite producers still today. He's incredible, very cool to meet him. And he told me, he was like, "Yo, do you want to meet these other people?" And started introducing me to some people. And that, you know, opened a lot of doors for me. And then a lot of other things came after that, after
Yeah.
Franny opening those doors. And, you know, that led
Didn't
to,
you talk to Seacrest at one point?
yeah, I talked to Seacrest the next morning or the day after. So it was like maybe 2 days after.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, but I was live on Seacrest. It was really funny too, because like you could tell Seacrest didn't really want to talk to me. He just had to. Like
Yeah, he didn't
I
really
was
seem
the
like-
news.
I think that's just how he is, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But like
he was just kind of like below what he wanted to be.
yeah, he was not talking with me. He was like talking at me and like letting me say some things so that
Yeah,
they could use. And you know, it's really interesting. It's almost like that was like the last moments that those things could happen. You know, it was before the internet really became what we know it today. Of like, that was kind of the catalyst. That was, you know, a Pablo album was dropping in a couple days. And all the producers I ended up meeting were working
you
on
were
Pablo.
part of the rollout, if you think about it.
Yeah,
Like, you were
definitely.
part of
That was the
his press
kickoff,
run,
for
'cause
sure.
He always does a press run of it, and I remember that. It was like that was one of many things that happened, because when he goes out in public before a release, it's all a story. And
that was
it's
pretty
all
much the
intentional
last.
to-
You know, the other one was what's the Bipolar album? What's the yeah. That was like the first album that I would say was everything was up, advertising wise to Pablo. And then that moment with TMZ and me and the Grammys was the pinnacle of promotion prior to whatever the internet is, this new era of the internet. Like there was nothing higher than that. And then even Ye was below, like Ye's, the pinnacle promo for Ye did not hit. And Kanye was at such a different place resonance wise that I don't think it was able to resonate as high as Pablo did. I mean, Pablo was really pinnacle Kanye album.
Although I like Ye better than Pablo.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not. I never got into Pablo.
Well,
I love Yeezus more than any of his, or 808s, I guess. But
you got to listen to I made it's Pablo. I don't like the spell that Pablo is. And I don't know if I ever shared it with you, but I made a playlist that I call Pop High. And that I cut out the tracks on that album that I don't like. And now it's the most beautiful Pop High album.
That makes sense that would be in there, because I remember that. I think that's why I didn't like it, was because it didn't like flow.
Yeah, I mean, they put that fucking basically. I feel, and like I might be completely misrepresenting it, but I feel like Designer got the energy that should have actually technically been my album rollout. And like the Panda, like Designer ain't shit, dog. Designer ain't got no good songs, you know. Like you ain't heard a Designer since.
I liked one. I liked what? Timmy Turner.
Oh my god,
that's a banger.
No, you didn't like it. You just like the meme of it.
That's the only Designer song I like.
Timmy Turner. Yeah, okay. I'll take that. It was a decent song.
Like on repeat.
It was a decent song. I mean, I liked Panda when it came out too, and
I didn't even like that one. I was like, whatever.
I
know it was big.
As far as rap goes, I mean, as far as like a hard hitting beat and shit, it was fucking banging. You know.
All right. Well.
But yeah, I remember Anthony telling me, Killhofer, he was like, yeah, I don't really fuck with that. And like, I probably shouldn't say that on here, but oh well, whatever. But he was like, I don't really fuck with that. And I don't know why we're doing it, but like put the whole song on the album. Like, come on, Kanye, you put somebody else's whole shit in the middle. Like,
I know what you mean. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah.
Right in the middle of the album. But you know, it really, that whole learning process opened up so many doors for me and, lowered so many pedestals that it really changed my life. And that was just the beginning, because then after that, I got to meet so many other people and I got to be in so many different positions that all the pedestals pretty much came crashing down. And that gave me a confidence, not just for myself, it gave me the ability to have confidence in others. Because I knew the trajectory that I was on, the path that I had taken, the path that we had been on together to reach this point of, hey, I want to make music with the people that have made the best music, the music I thought was the best music on earth for years, you know, not just like one album. It was like my gods of music creation they made these albums. And then all of a sudden I'm in the room with them and it's like, I made these 10 albums. And it's like, holy shit. How did
the
you
experience, make it definitely demystified the world of like commerce art for all of us. It was just like, oh God, like this is not what we thought it was. Yeah. Exactly. Thank God we learned that. We're not chasing it the same way.
Yes. And then not chasing it the same way.
It was the perfect time to stop chasing it because of what you said, because of how everything changed, and how distribution changed and social media. And
I mean, are you really thinking that there's going to be an infinite third channel that's just churning out new AI hits? And are those songs?
I hope so. I mean, I'm going to make it. I mean,
well, are you going to be curating those songs and saying like, okay, this is one, this one goes away forever, nobody ever hears
this? I think it's going to be, designed that it'll be programmed to just continuously evolve from my material. And I want it to be kind of how my live streams are they could just be a 2-hour seamless song that just evolves and different pieces within that and different beats. I want it to be that forever. Cause I follow a couple AI things that I love there's one that's a death metal one.
Yeah. You showed me that one on YouTube.
Yeah. Relentless Doppelganger. And it's gotten really good. And I can listen to it for real. And I'm just like, I want the infinite third version of that. And I almost want to just let it kind of not be curated by me eventually, or I'll curate while I'm alive. I'll curate the parts that I like and release them. Or maybe the input, or I'm constantly giving it the new input as it. But by that time, I'm sure it could just comb the internet for my input, and not even need to, it wouldn't even need my interaction. I almost want it to just be like my creation that I don't have control of anymore.
This is where the conversation gets really interesting to me artistically around AI stuff. Is it almost feels like the ideas are what matter more than the art, and that's always been the case. But it takes the execution of the idea to ever witness it. And that's like the I Miss the Old Kanye pretty much tells you the thought process of what Kanye is and what we believed Kanye was. And like Kanye was a brand that was made. And then at some point that brand became embodied by the person. But at one point they weren't at one point it was just a person trying to project a brand and an image, a likeness into the world that had a product associated with it. At some point there's a moment where you can't do that. The idea is the thing that is alive, and if it was your idea or your vision, then you're the only one that can facilitate it or manifest it or bring it to life. And it's almost like the prompt is truly what we're after. Like the prompt is the core of it. Like even if you're not writing down, like if Kanye in 2001 or earlier than that, let's say 98, before Blueprint came out, was writing down what he thought Kanye was, and he had to write it on like one sheet of paper. So you just hand him a sheet of paper and you're like, write down what Kanye West is. And he writes it down like 21. Kanye West is 21-time Grammy Award-winning hip-hop artist, of the most influential artist of the 21st century, or whatever it is. And like you're dreaming this prompt up. He's wearing loud clothes with his collar popped and pink polos and Louis Vuitton sneakers and backpacks, and as loud as you can be. Says everything that you would say with your friends privately, but says it publicly and for everyone to hear. And like you write down these things, it still wouldn't come out the way he did it, but you could write the playbook, just like you could write the playbook for somebody like Drake today of, pretty much zero personality as far as the brand goes. We don't know who Drake is. We get glimpses here and there, but how much do we really know of who or what Drake is, the person? He's not doing long form podcasts where he's just ripping like this. He's putting out fucking nonstop hit songs that are perfect production across the board. And is that an idea that was dreamt up? And Is that what's happening in the future? It almost makes me feel like being a human is where all the, all the value is. I mean, and up until these points, it felt like being a human only had the true for me up and like becoming the artist of Cameron Gray and trying to get my music out was like the human had to put out the art to be something else. Like I had to make the art to transcend whatever being I was. But now it's like come full circle that the being is the most important part of that.
And I think it always was that.
Right. Yes.
How much of your art matches the vision of it?
Yeah.
It's like, I think there's science to this of what you said about Kanye writing what Kanye will be, is that the creation actually happened in that moment, and that the art was happening there. And
yes.
he got the like the feedback from doing that scientifically, like chemically. I mean, there's that thing where they say
he lived it.
Where if you like,
it's Neville.
You talk about a project too early, you actually get you release the chemicals as though you've already done it. So it almost like you lose the desire to actually do it. So yeah, there's something to that where the art is actually just in any moment where you decide to have the vision and express it, or just have the vision, and the finished product or the content it's kind of like the poop of it. It's like, it's the waste of it. And sometimes the waste is beautiful, and sometimes it's just like, you don't even care anymore. You're putting it out.
Wow.
But you already had the energy.
That's deep. The poop of it is so
that's
crazy.
how I feel. It's like, I didn't want to say poop right there, but I was like, that's the quickest way to get it.
But I mean, that is.
I was like, I remember my mind saying, like, are you really going to say poop right now?
I mean, it is. Though.
I guess I'm just saying, like, I have so many visions that I'm juggling right now. Probably 12 genuine things that I'm going back and forth on different days, whatever I'm feeling inspired to like think about or work on. Some of them are albums. This project that I'm not telling you about yet, that's, my new thing, stream ideas, all these visions. I realize as I'm doing them now, I have enough experience with it to know that half of them probably won't even happen at all, or won't become anything.
Yeah.
And the ones that do are going to be so different by the time they do that whatever I'm thinking they're going to be now doesn't matter. So I just need to go with the flow of it and let it kind of die and come back. And the documentary is a huge one. It's been like, my vision of it has changed a million times. It's gone away. It's come back. And every album I've ever made, most albums that I've made are such like spontaneous creations that I didn't even have visions for them. I just knew something was coming. And I was like, I'll just step into it and see what it is. And then, okay, that's what it is. And I'll name it. And here's what it sounds like. And, that matches that vision I had 2 years ago. I'll just adapt that song title or something. And I wonder with your work, I wish people could understand some of the work you've put in, some of the symbolism you put into your work that I don't think
nobody does
even
really
know.
Yeah.
Cocaine Ferrari having the Kanye song on it, like, is crazy. And just the way it's to me, that's your most abstract, complete work.
Yeah.
Is that I understand how all those came there, but from the outside, if I'm trying to just be like a fan looking at it and I'm trying to not be me, I'm like, man, I don't think people are going to get this, because it's just it's so real. And so like, it's like painting where if you don't see him painting it, you almost don't appreciate the brush strokes.
Thanks for saying that. Cause I really feel that same way too. I mean, Cocaine Ferrari it was years of work and inspiration and manifestation all coming together, and in a very authentic and thoughtful way for me personally, and working within my limitations to make the most out of something. And I don't know if people can truly understand what that album is without this medium. Like they have to get to know me and then hear me talk about it. But even now, I released it in 2018 or whatever, and this is 2017. This is, to me, it's almost, I'm such a different person from when I created that album to now that I don't even remember exactly every nuance of synchronicity that went into it. But that's, what was guiding me was really God. I was being shown a way forward over, and I didn't really understand
channeled
it.
that one.
Yes.
Like that's how I feel. It's like that was
too.
a channeled piece, and and compared to your previous work, it just, the funny thing is, Cocaine Ferrari is not my favorite. It's not even ranked for me, like listen wise, but conceptually, it reaches a different point of art than even your most conceptualized previous ones that I think stand up stronger as an understandable piece of art. Like they're like movies almost. Crash Landing and the concepts that go through them, and they're all very real too. But Cocaine Ferrari, as an artist, I see it as real, not as Cam, like the person you grew up.
I feel like Cam. It was my early works were like Cameron Portwood making art as Cameron Gray, and then I realized over that time what Cameron Gray actually was, and I understood Kanye so much better than I had, and I was like really imitating or chasing that, whatever you want to call it, like trying to deliver something in that vein. And I think for the first time I understood I have to I know how to deliver Cameron Gray, and I feel like Cocaine Ferrari was exactly what Cameron Gray, the artist, was trying to do. And it was the first time that I had made art that I felt like I had really accomplished what I set out to accomplish. And still when I listen to it, I listened to it the other day, and it still like gives me the feelings that I wanted to live.
I bet it does. Yeah, I bet it does.
I mean, all of it. San Junipero, the art. I love it.
Even I have friends that from high school that really liked your music because they knew you as like, my rapper friend that is putting out stuff. Like nobody was putting out stuff that we knew back then, CDs and stuff. And I have friends that like once Cocaine Ferrari came out, they kind of like didn't react to it. They were like, yeah, I like NASA and, the old ones. And I'm always just like, okay, I think I get it, because they weren't in it for art. They were in it for like a rapper who was doing rap things. And you finally made like honest art, and it kind of went over people's head. It had some really high notes anyway. Just I think Vroomin' in the Rari might be the most universally appreciated song I can think of that I've showed people.
It is still,
but but at the same time, like conceptually, even I'm just like, man, this is a lot. This is dense. Like I almost wanted Crash Landing Part 2 or something, more than I wanted Cocaine
Anthony
Ferrari,
told me not to put it out. Anthony,
but I wanted you to have a Cocaine Ferrari. That's more what I want for you. But for me, I wanted a more surface
I understand. I mean, I went against. I literally went in, met my dream producers, and then went against everything they said, and that's how I knew.
That's amazing.
I was the artist. I was like, oh no, and like Anthony was like, yo, you should really not put out a 21 song album, and I was like, 21's the only number of songs that's going on this album. It's not even fucking up for debate. That's what this is, and that's what's happening.
And I relate to that so many times, because there are times where I know that what I'm doing is not the thing that even probably people who are giving me the benefit of the doubt want from me in my next piece of art. But I know what I need to put out, and I'm not gonna give them what they want.
Yes, I'm not.
And I've been listening to so much Rick Rubin lately on his podcast and reading his book and stuff. And I love how he just says, like, the audience doesn't know what they want.
Right. Yes.
They want what you want when they finally
get there.
And you give,
And that's how I feel I feel Cocaine Ferrari. I still feel this, and I really truly believe this. I think Cocaine Ferrari is going to be a monster album for me, and it's fucking 6 years old. But that's the way my life has been. I mean, I was telling everybody that Bitcoin was the shit in 2012, and everybody thought I was a lunatic. And then now what, bitch? We're 10 years deep, and had anybody listen to me, anybody that did listen to me is super caked, and anybody who didn't, is saying, I remember Cam used to talk about it all the time. Like, yeah, I'm not that fucking crazy. I'm just in tune differently. I know we're at the 40.
We went 3 hours, and,
I know.
And that was the first time you said the word Bitcoin. Like, we didn't even,
everybody else
with Evan, you talked about it like 80 times. You probably said the word.
It's all we talked about yesterday too. Yeah. But I know you got to get off here.
We have so much for next time. But,
yes, and my king, I love you so much. Thank you for coming on and making time for me. I really truly mean it when I say time is the only luxury, and I mean it for moments like this. I've had this 3 hours fucking flew by, did it not? I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and this is short for us sometimes. How we actually talk, so that's funny. That's since I became a dad. Yeah.
Anything you want to tell the people to check out? You want to give them your websites and your handles and stuff, or anything you got coming up? Any place you want to send them?
Infinite Third. I love anytime anybody checks out Infinite Third. THIRD. I have a Patreon. It's my favorite thing because I share stuff on there only now, not even on social media. Like my new work, because it's people who are invested actually in my work. So I just love it. It's not as many people, but it's so much more meaningful. So, and then my Twitch channel, I would love to have people come in the streams.
And he's super active on X. He'll call it Twitter still, but we're going to call it X. It's x.com/infinite third.
Oh my God. You can x.com. Oh, I hated it. There you go.
I love you, my king. Thank you for life. You're very inspirational, and I appreciate your time today. We'll talk again soon. I am. I can't wait. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb for this call, so
go check.
Hopefully, I haven't missed it.
Okay, I said hi.
I will. I love you, and I can't wait to have you back.
Bye.
$4 million right now, I swear I'll probably end it. My last request would be to ask Rye how he would spend it. His answer be give mom 500 G's and change the planet. See, we're not like you, we ain't taking shit for granted. I see forever, and right now is all there is. So I write every song like it's my last to kill that shit. We hustle too hard, and we still ain't rich. We've been down to the bottom, climbed up out that bitch. We were looking for my spaceship, I'm thinking we found it. You can hear it right now, tell me how is it sounding. I hope you're not sober, I know your music's pounding. Just remember, stop sometimes and take a look around. It's your life and you only live one time. I'm rapping in the rain, waiting on the sunshine. If you feel it, put your lighters in the air one time and sing with me. I'm saying all we have is forever and now. All we have is forever and now. Yeah, forever and right now is all there is. Whether it's a shitty job or selling crack, feed those kids. Please get caught up in the moment, remember to live. It's easier to hold a grudge than it is to forgive. I'm like, damn, I know life gets hard sometimes, and when it does, light the blunt and hit that shit 2 times. NASA blast off, just clear your mind. We on some astronaut status, everything is fine. Things could always be better and they could always be worse. Just be thankful you ain't rolling in the back of a hearse. Out of my mind right now, I ain't writing this verse. If you're losing the race, turn around, you're first. We on some NASA. All we have is forever and now. Yeah.